I should disagree with. Okay, let me check. Is everybody unmuted yet? No. Just 2 people. Okay, Pixie's in there, though. Okay, let me unmute.
Hi, welcome everybody. You guys probably already know who I am because I contacted all of you. But welcome to my little Burn Your Best panel. The way that it's going to work is that I would like for each of you to like state your opinion. So for example, I'd be like, oh, hey, I'm Pixie. I'm a whatever. I'm a buster. I don't believe we should vote for Biden because I think he's just as bad as Bernie. But just as bad as Trump. And the reason why I think that is because of his tax policy. This is just completely random, by the way. I would like it if you guys could give like a brief introduction of where you stand and a short sentence of why you stand, and then we'll go from there. So I'd like it if you could start, Liz.
Hello. So I am Liz, or Sadosha, or Sadosia. I don't know how the fuck to pronounce my name either. So Sadosha on Twitter. I'm mainly on Twitter, but like I'm also streaming now, so it's cool. I am a social democrat-ish, like center. Labels are dumb, and I am very strongly like blue no matter who. So I think burning your bus is a pretty dumb position. I don't think there's much merit to it. I think it's pretty. I don't know. I don't like it.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to go, Dylan?
Sure. My name is Dylan Burns. I'm a foreign policy advisor. Most of my content is foreign policy based, and so I cement a lot of my opinions when it comes to this in foreign policy. I think when it comes to, and I think this is also the same argument could be made in domestic policy, that Biden is miles ahead of Trump when it comes to foreign policy, and what his administration would look like when it comes to foreign policy specifically. And I think for that reason, I basically think that I have to not only support Biden, but I will also personally campaign for Biden. I've been scheduling weekends to phone bank for him, and doing my best to get him elected. I just want to try to reduce the largest amount of harm in my community and save the most amount of lives around the world. So yeah, that's my position.
Kalia?
Hi, my name is Kalia Woodhart. I am a trans POC girl on this hell site that we call Twitch.tv. I am an ANCOM that firmly believes that Biden will not reduce any sort of harm, and I will not be voting for Biden. I am not a burning or buster. Any other candidate from the, primaries that would have become the nominee, I would have been more inclined to vote for, but I will not be voting for Biden.
Cool. Angie?
So, I'm a leftist YouTuber and also co-host of the podcast Low Society. I also live in the UK, so my opinions on American politics are not necessarily rooted in my ability to vote. I don't necessarily think that Biden is gonna win, which is my position. So it comes more from analyzing the broader American political discourse that's been going on over the last couple of years, especially since 2016. I think that the reason Biden isn't going to win is because of the failures of the neoliberal establishment and their clear disloyalty towards the working class population of America. I think that even though Trump's platform isn't necessarily truthful most of the time, I think it does a more successful job of appealing to working class voters, even though obviously his promises are usually quite hollow. But I think that speaks to a deeper failure within the logic and the mode of operation of the Democratic establishment. And in terms of voting, I think people should do whatever the fuck their conscience tells them to do. But if I had the capacity to vote in America, I sure as fuck would not be voting for Joe Biden.
Okay. I'm going to start with like a general question and let this go into like more of a conversation format. My job as a moderator here is to barely put my opinion, so I won't really be speaking of my opinion. I'll try to cut in and interpret things if I feel like we're getting like lost in the clouds or like lost with the balloons or whatever. So I'll let you guys take it from here. I'm going to just start with one question. So Kalia and Angie, do you think that Trump and Biden are like very different, or are very like similar, or do you think that just Biden isn't going to be doing anything to like help the United States in any capacity when it comes to the working class, even compared to Trump?
I think that there's a ruling ideology, and that ideology is that of neoliberalism. And I think Trump is a continuation of neoliberalism. I think the idea that Trump is a sort of anomaly in any sort of regard is sort of a liberal delusion. Most of the policies that Trump has enacted are kind of carryover from the Obama administration. And neoliberalism is the real enemy here, not Trump. Trump is sort of like an uglier face of neoliberalism, but neoliberalism is the overarching issue that people are sick of and concerned about. So no, I don't think that Trump and Joe Biden are really that different in the sense that they're a continuation of the same ideology and the same system. There may be certain policies where Joe Biden is better at than Trump on, but there are certain policy positions where Trump is better than Joe Biden in that regard. So yeah.
I mean, mostly I agree with Angie. The main problem with the United States is the main fact that like every candidate that is going to be running is going to fall into the same category of like neoliberalism and is going to continue capitalist trends that are going to basically harm marginalized groups like myself in the US. And I don't think Biden in any capacity is going to change anything. Isn't going to help contribute to lessening any sort of blows that have already been dealt to marginalized communities.
Okay. Liz, Dylan, would you guys like to take the handle on that?
It seems very strange that like you'd see like Trump, like what has Trump done for you, according to you, that's better than what Biden would have done? It seems like, I think you can attack him for being like not like the like amazing candidate or anything, but
no one's
like,
saying that Trump is better than Biden.
Well, you said in certain areas, like it's just.
I said there are certain areas where Joe Biden is better than Trump, but there are also certain areas.
What
where
areas?
Trump
like
is better than
name
Joe
me a
Biden.
single area where Joe Biden is somehow.
Drug policy, for instance, that's one of the number one areas where Joe Biden has had a really terrible record in terms of his views on legalization, whereas Trump has taken the states' rights route. And we've actually seen legalization happen. We've actually.
I think Biden has like decriminalization on his official.
No, Joe Biden historically, in terms of his position on legalization, has been really, really weak. He's only just pivoted on that. There are a myriad of areas that we could discuss where Trump has put forward more progressive policies than Joe Biden. But then the reverse could also be said. There are also certain policies that Joe Biden has that are more progressive than Trump. But for me, this is just an argument of like semantics, because at the end of the day, the problem is neoliberalism and they're both neoliberal candidates. That's kind of my position.
You really like, I don't know what definition of neoliberalism you're using, but Trump is really, he seems to not very much not fit any sort of neoliberal, like that's a very strange word to describe him.
Do you think neoliberalism means? What do you think it means?
It's like the most like misdefined word in history, but and like
no, it's not. It's not at all.
No, it's the most like confusingly.
No, it's
Trump is included neoliberalism. I don't know what you mean.
Okay, let's.
He's already a protectionist. Like
no. What do you think neoliberalism means? Do you want to define that?
Most people, when they say it, they mean like sort of like Reagan Thatcher-esque, like free markets sort of things, but it can be totally different. There's people that do it other things, but that's generally where it is.
No,
people say it.
No. Well, yeah, Reagan and Thatcher are definitely figures that you could call neoliberal candidates. They're far right, but neoliberalism is market solutions for social problems. That's one of the overarching features of neoliberalism, is the marketization of all things, basically.
Yeah, and Trump has been tearing down these huge neoliberal institutions like the NATO and like a lot of trade stuff, and he's like a huge protectionist. This is like the opposite of like anything like neoliberal in terms of like economic policy.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. There are different forms of neoliberalism, and the fact of the matter is Trump is putting forward the same agendas as the neoliberal candidates that have come before him, including Obama. I don't necessarily see I see what Trump is doing as a continuation of those political trends. I don't see him as being, he's more brash in his affect and in his manner. He says things that he probably shouldn't say. but that doesn't necessarily mean that in terms of policy he's any different from his predecessors. Most of the things that he's doing are a continuation of the things that have happened under different regimes.
Not really. I mean, obviously there's some things he's continued, but there's a lot of like things that are very different. Like a fucking like Muslim ban, like unprecedented levels of like things against like children in fucking cages, like a whole like there's a lot of fucking shit.
The children in cages. Obama started off those policies.
Those are very. It's barely comparable. The one that
no, it's not at all. No, it's not at all. Obama was more draconian. Obama was more draconian in his immigration.
Sure that's just like not true. It was
significantly.
It was
Obama
like a rare
was
thing
way
that
more...
occurred under Obama. It's like it's expanded like unprecedented levels under Trump.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The position, it was an acceleration. Trump is an acceleration of the things that were already there. Obama started off those trends, and Trump followed them. That's the whole point. It's not as if Trump is an anomaly and he just pulled these things out of thin air. There are continuations of policies that were already on the ground. And Obama was more draconian in his immigration policy than even his predecessor. So
Dylan, do you want to say
Yeah,
something?
I wanted to say my thing is when I work in foreign policy, I think Biden and Trump couldn't be further apart when it comes to the foreign policy aspects and how they deem that level of experience, their positions on certain issues around the world. Even when it comes to immigration, they couldn't be further apart specifically. I'll just start with a few key things. I'm not really much into ideology specifically. I'm not much of an ideologue personally. My main philosophy is how to help the most people, and that's what I believe in. So we can go into certain conflicts. A good example would be Yemen, where one of the worst slaughters in the world. Some classify it as a genocide. Every day I start to lean closer to that definition of what's going on there. I'll just give you one statistic to show the severity of the situation. As of 2018, 85,000 children under the age of 5 starved to death due to the Saudi blockade there. There was bipartisan legislation passed by leading by Bernie, and it was bipartisan legislation. Some Republicans led on this as well. It passed the House and the Senate, and it was vetoed by President Trump. Biden not only has pledged to support it, but said it would be one of his priorities, and he said that. And plus the fact that it's bipartisan legislation and the Democrats are leading on that, definitely after the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, that is thousands upon thousands of lives that could be saved by us not supporting the Saudi war in Yemen with arms. Another thing would be Trump's terrible pullout of Syria, which was the pulling out of 50 to 150 troops led to the displacement of over 300,000 people from northeastern Syria, led to politicians being pulled out of their cars and beheaded. A 14-year-old boy recently was beheaded in Afrin, and his head stacked next to his body. There has been, of course, another instance of violence that is going on there is that people have been shot and killed. They would take their bodies and they'll sell it back to their families for profit.
What U.S. president hasn't been a warmonger abroad or hasn't had awful catastrophes happen on the world stage? Obama's drone policy, even at home, the way that Obama dealt with the Flint, Michigan crisis, by going there and telling the residents that the water was like okay to drink.
Well,
there are things that happen on the international stage like under Trump, but there are also things that are terrible that happened on the international stage under candidates that are closer to the person who you want in the White House.
Well, of course. I mean, this is going to happen under any U.S. president. If I was in there, if any of us were in there, there's going to be horrible things that happen abroad that sometimes we're not going to be able to avoid, and some presidents will worsen that situation.
Not necessarily able to avoid. Like Obama escalated, and the only reason I'm talking over you is because I don't have a lot of time. I have to go soon. It's like very late. But Obama escalated a lot of conflict abroad as well. Mm-hmm. Like didn't get in there and de-escalate
That's
things.
true, but
And
that's
the idea that Joe Biden is going to go
that's
in
true,
there
but
and de-escalate
But
things, I
Biden's
think
foreign
also
policy is different than Obama's foreign policy. He was vice president. For example, he disagreed with Obama intervening in Yemen. He thought it was a bad idea. He talked about this at the Council of Foreign Relations before. And when we talk about foreign policy, Biden's also going to make foreign policy decisions I disagree with. Right? He's definitely going to. I know this. But the amount of harm that's going to be done in the world, comparatively, when it comes to America's stance, definitely America's the biggest empire in the world. We need to definitely think about foreign policy in this perspective. More lives and more people are going to survive and live under a Biden presidency than under a Trump presidency. We could see a perfect example would be the Iran deal, which was a landmark piece of legislation that I didn't even believe was going to happen. I thought it was going to fail. But Biden and Obama did like gymnastics to get that through, along with Iranian moderates within Oman, and he got that through. Trump throws that out, then kills Soleimani, escalates in the region. Now missile strikes have escalated. Killing Soleimani has entrenched the Iranian theocracy, and it's made the situation 10 times worse. I know Biden wouldn't have done that because that was an option on the table for the Obama presidency, and Biden's foreign policy view would have not done anything near to that. He's very proud of the Iran deal. Then you add the slaughter in northeastern Syria, the general lack of knowledge when Mr. Trump calls the president of Kurdistan Mr. Kurd and confuses them with the Syrian Kurds. They're not even near the same level when it comes to foreign policy. I mean, the amount of lives that would be lost under another term of Trump when it comes to the world stage compared to the Biden, it's laughable to say they're anywhere near the same.
Well, I disagree with you, but because I don't have a lot of time, regardless, I don't think that Biden is going to win. And like I said in the beginning, I think that it comes down to the fact that people are tired of the neoliberal consensus.
Is a Kurd.
And I also think that the failures of the Democratic establishment to notate that is what's going to make them lose a second time round. It doesn't really matter what you say in terms of the differences between their policies. The fact of the matter is Trump speaks to more people. He has more resonance in the public than someone like Biden does. In 2016,
I'm sorry. This is just irrelevant.
In 2016, it's not irrelevant. In 2016, Hillary Clinton lost to Trump. She lost to Trump.
We're not debating whether he wins or not. We're debating whether we should vote for him. And
well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that there's going to be enough support garnered. Like, I don't care about whether people decide.
There was actually.
That's my point.
There was a poll released today which showed something amazing to me. It showed.
I've also seen quite a few polls.
Yeah, but this poll's a little different because it polled something different. It asks just specifically, do you like Biden? And this was a KOS poll, and it was just one, so I won't use it for a general trend, but I think it was interesting. It had actually said more people disliked Biden than Trump. And I said, oh, that's not good. But then I looked at the next thing, and even with it said 36% people don't like Biden, over 60% hate him. Even with that, and with in this poll, Trump having almost 50% support, Biden still won in a general election matchup in that same poll. So even when more people hate Biden, they still turned out to vote for him.
I don't think it's about likability at the end of the day.
Well,
I think it's about the fact
whether they hate him or not.
I don't even think it's about that. I think it's about the fact that people are tired of these neoliberal candidates. 2016, another example of the failure of the Democratic establishment to put forward a candidate that actually spoke to the needs and concerns of working class people.
Wait, so how is someone not voting in this election going to change anything?
My position isn't that people shouldn't vote. I didn't say that. I think my position is that I think Joe Biden is going to lose. That's not me telling people not to vote. Like I said at the beginning, do whatever your conscience tells you to do.
That's the most slippery fucking... I'm sorry.
That's not slippery at all. That's me making an assertion that I think he's going to lose. Well, people can do whatever they want.
Things like seeing all the rad lip symptoms of Biden guarantees them to come when Trump wins. Like, do you really think like...
Okay, I'm going to cut in for a second.
Are you pulling up my old tweets? Are you pulling up my tweets? Are you pulling up my tweets? Yeah, I meant what the fuck I said there. The fact of the matter is the inability for the Democratic establishment to face up to its own failures is what is going to cause Trump to win. As Biden could be better than Trump on on foreign policy. He could be better than Trump on certain progressive policies. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, the major thing that's going to cause Biden to lose is the failures of the Democratic establishment, the ones that it fails to step up to and to take responsibility for. It's everybody else's fault. It's Russia, it's the racist poors, it's everyone, it's the left, it's everyone else's fault but the Democratic establishment. And the fact is, they don't have a platform that speaks to and resonates with the masses. They don't have that platform, which is the reason why I think that Biden's gonna fucking lose.
You know,
and I'm allowed to say that I think he's gonna
I'm
fucking lose.
inclined to agree with you. And I would have agreed with you up to a certain point, probably a month or two ago. But every single piece of data, general election data, polling data, just the amount of
they said the same thing about Hillary Clinton in 2016.
Let me finish.
In
2016,
2016, every single poll, every single mainstream media outlet was declaring a preemptive victory for Hillary Clinton, and it still didn't happen.
The difference
still didn't happen, and I am 100%, almost 100% convinced that the same old story is going to continue, because the Democrats are employing the same mode of operation in this election that they employed in 2016, and it was a colossal failure.
That's not true.
And yes, it is.
Okay,
it is.
So
it
there
is.
was as much communication between the Bernie camp and the Biden camp as there was between the Bernie camp and the Hillary camp when it came to mobilizing Bernie's base, to communications about policy, general election policy. There was the same dislikability when it comes to Biden and Hillary Clinton on the same level. Hillary Clinton was a monumentally unpopular candidate in general in American politics. Biden is historically extremely popular. I mean, I don't see how it's really the same at all.
I disagree. Joe Biden is also, like you just said, Joe Biden also has the same likability issues. And it's because those likability issues don't just exist. Those likability issues don't just exist in a vacuum. The reason why there's a likability issue there is because people are sick of having these neoliberal technocrats shoved in their face. People are looking for a chaos candidate. People are looking for some form of change. And it will either go towards barbarism or socialism. Those are the two options we have: fucking barbarism or socialism. And the reason people chose Trump in the first place is because he represented that break from the status quo that people want. And the Democrats had the opportunity, to put forward a candidate that represents a break with the status quo.
Okay.
But instead they want to go back.
For 5 minutes. Okay.
No, I'm not finished my point. So if you could be quiet, that would be real nice. The point that I'm trying to make before you fucking jump down my throat is that the fucking neoliberal consensus is what people are dissatisfied with. The neoliberal consensus is what people don't want. Trump represented a break from that. The Democratic establishment had the opportunity to put forward a candidate that represented a break from that, and they chose to go back to 2008. And 2008 is not coming back, baby. It's not fucking coming back.
I get it.
Wait,
okay.
so it's going to be Liz, Dylan, and then Kalia, because she hasn't gotten a chance to speak. Okay, and then we'll go back to Angie.
This entire conversation is irrelevant because if the primary has already happened, right? There's no world where either Biden or Trump doesn't get in the office. And the choice is between two of those. It's a binary choice. There is no turn back fucking time and get the DNC to elect Bernie or something. That's not going to happen. So the choice
You're
is
building a straw man. That's not what I fucking said. I never said we should turn back time.
Bust, not if Biden will win. That's the entire point of this conversation.
No, but I literally said at the beginning that I do not have a position on Bernie or bust. But my position is that I don't, because I was asked to be. Because I was asked to be here. That's the reason why I'm fucking here. The fact of the matter is, my position is that Biden is not going to fucking win. So it's not a matter of fucking Bernie or bust.
But don't you think you're by constantly fucking saying all the shit on Twitter, it probably is going to influence a lot of people to not vote for them.
Why does my Twitter fucking upset you so much? Don't fucking follow me if you don't like my tweets. It's that fucking simple.
Because it spreads a huge message. You have
I'm allowed to say.
You're not care about your influence in the public discourse?
I'm allowed to say whatever the fuck I want on my own platform. And if I believe that
no one
Joe
is saying
Biden
you're not allowed to. We're saying it causes harm.
If I believe that Joe Biden isn't going to win, I'm not pulling that out of a vacuum. I'm looking at different trends. I'm looking at the political atmosphere. I'm looking at the political atmosphere. I'm looking at trends from 2016 as well. I'm looking at the current dissatisfaction with the neoliberal consensus, which is the thing that liberals never want to look at. The fact that people are fucking tired of this bullshit. Those are the things that I'm looking at. Those are the things I'm following. And that's the reason why I don't think Biden is going to win. And me saying I don't think Biden is going to win isn't tacit encouragement or me carrying water for the Trump administration. I'm specifically pointing out the failures of the Democratic establishment. If Biden doesn't win, if Trump wins, it's their fault. It's not my fault. It's not Russia's fault. It's not the racist poor's fault. It's the fault of the Democratic establishment. It's the fault of the Democratic establishment for not being able to mobilize enough support from the working class population of America. And they're not going to do it by putting forward.
Not your vote, but
to
like
an
your people's.
extent, it would kind of be sentiments that you're pushing. It would be kind of that fault, though. I mean, it is known that when Americans don't.
No, you can't blame me. Blame the Democratic establishment. I'm a person on Twitter. The Democratic establishment. The Democratic establishment has institutional power.
So please use them. I said sentiment, right? When American voters don't think their vote matters, they don't go out to vote. All data supports this. So if they think that their vote doesn't matter and Joe Biden's just gonna fucking lose when all data suggests he's got a shot at winning, then they will lose. Oh my god. 1 second, my fucking mic is not working.
Yeah, your mic's
People
weird.
you cried in 2016 and fucking beat their chests and gnashed their teeth about Hillary Clinton. And the fact of the matter is the reason that the reason that the Democrats got their asses handed to them in the first place is because nobody wanted to see another neoliberal technocrat in power. That's the fucking thing here. That's the reason why I believe that Joe Biden is going to lose. And me saying I believe Joe Biden is going to lose is not tacit support for Trump. It is a criticism of the Democratic establishment. What do you not understand?
I fixed my mic, so now I can yell in peace. When it comes, but it's not support for Trump, but it helps Trump. When you tell.
No, it doesn't. You're saying criticizing. You're saying
I'm not saying criticizing. I'm saying being
I know you have to
wrong.
leave soon, but
you're saying no. You're saying any critique. You're saying any critique of the Democratic establishment is help for Trump, which is bullshit.
It's more
me
than just
critiquing.
That. You seem to be fucking like celebrating if Trump wins because like
I'm celebrating. I'm celebrating the failure.
Okay, I would like to speak.
I'm celebrating the failure. No, because I'm not going to let you bad faith me right here.
But you're wrong.
I'm celebrating the failure of the Democratic establishment. I'm celebrating the failures of the Democratic establishment. And criticizing the Democratic establishment is not tacit support for Trump.
You're just being wrong, and that's
that's a bad faith interpretation.
Let's listening to my.
Okay, Dylan, speak.
Okay, my mic's going in and out, so I'm gonna fix it after. So I'm gonna say it quick. My statement was that when voters don't think their vote matters, they don't vote. They don't vote when they don't think their vote. It's keeping going down. When they don't matter. So if somebody's saying Joe Biden doesn't have a shot, Joe Biden has no shot in hell, then voters will say, well, if he doesn't have a shot, there's no reason for me to go out and vote. When he most definitely does have a shot. Therefore, that's helping Trump. Now I gotta go fix my mic.
Okay. I'm gonna let Kalia speak because Kalia has not spoken at all. Kalia.
I'm good.
You're good.
This is just a screaming match, and I have nothing to contribute here, so I'm just gonna stay quiet.
Okay. Okay. Liz, do you want to say anything?
This is just, it's so, holy shit. Like, I don't think, like, her whole argument around, like, it doesn't, like, I can say whatever the one on my Twitter. This is, like, fucking, like, Gamergate to your arguments.
Oh my god, shut up! Shut up! Oh my god! Like, please stop.
Talking?
Please stop comparing me. Please stop comparing me to fucking Gamergate. For being against the neoliberal status quo. It's bullshit. You're doing horseshoe theory. You're doing horseshoe theory.
Vote for whoever you want. Like, you realize that will, like...
No, you're doing horseshoe...
Okay, let's do... I'm gonna set a small timer so that we can have, like, people speak. So give me literally 1 second so everybody's voices can be heard. Okay. Liz, I'm gonna put like how much do you guys want? Do you guys think 45 seconds is good? Let's do 45. Fuck it. Okay, Liz, you have 45 seconds on the floor now.
It's just things like I don't care, like vote whoever you want. Like you realize like that's tacit encouragement of just people, like it's the most slippery.
One, two. Okay.
For Biden, it's
okay,
a good thing,
my
right?
Mic
it's
working okay?
Will like fucking fix like the neoliberal establishment or whatever? No, but like, will have a very big influence and like help people in the real world if he wins? Absolutely. And it just seems like a very strange. They don't want to like be responsible for anything you say online.
Why my mic keeps doing
strange.
this?
Like
I have no clue.
I don't know. It's just like the whole time we've been arguing about. Like,
I know you hear me now, but for how long?
Discussion. It's like I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
I'm just not gonna mess with it.
Angie, do you want to respond to that?
I have a problem with the idea that me critiquing the neoliberal establishment, me pointing out the clear fact that people are dissatisfied with the neoliberal status quo, then saying that those combined things are probably going to affect Joe Biden's ascendance to the presidency of the United States equals me tacitly supporting the Trump administration. I don't fucking support the Trump administration, but I don't think that Joe Biden is. Let me finish. I don't think that Joe Biden is going to win because of these things. There are clear issues on the ground in the way that the Democratic establishment operates. There are also clear issues on the ground in terms of its loyalty towards working class voters and people in America and the actual real issues on the ground that affect them. People are not really satisfied with the status quo as it is, which is the reason why they gravitate towards candidates like Trump. Not just because they're evil or they're terrible. There's a reason that people gravitate towards candidates like Trump. There's a reason that Trump was voted in 2016. These things happened for a reason. And my problem is the Democratic establishment and those who carry water for them inability to look at those reasons. Instead, you yell at people that it's vote blue no matter who. You call people fascists for having a different analysis of things. It's fucking bullshit. It's absolute fucking bullshit. There's a reason why Trump gets voted in. There's a reason he got voted in. And if you refuse to look at those reasons, if you continue to obfuscate and blame other people and create straw mans, you're going to continue to see the same results. That's my point. Not that I want Trump to win. Oh, it's going to be great when Trump wins. No, it's that Trump is going to win because of these things. That is my point.
Okay. Dylan, do you want to go?
Yeah, I do want to go. I never meant to say you support him. For instance, I could not support so-and-so in a congressional election, and still my actions could end up helping him, right? Like if I'm like...
You're saying that my...
Angie, let him finish, and then we'll let you go, Angie. Dylan?
I am saying, not that you saying, hey, I think that the Democrats should help... Oh, God, it's doing it again. Should adhere to these things or that would be helping them. I don't think that's hurting him, but saying that Biden can't win. There's no way he can win. He just can't win. That is going to help Biden because it's going to discourage voters to turn out. Gotta fix my mic again.
Okay. Kalia, yeah, you can respond, Angie. I'm just going to ask Kalia, you sure you don't want to have anything to say?
100%.
Okay. Angie?
That a critique of the Democratic establishment, its mode of operation, how it's failed in the past, is me helping Trump in any way. I think what I'm trying to do is point people towards the reasons why these failures keep happening, which helps people in the long run. You can't just have short-term solutions to long-term problems.
Okay.
That's my point.
This should work.
There's a long-standing
hey,
problem
thanks for the sub.
with the Democratic establishment. There's a long-standing problem with the neoliberal consensus, and you cannot obfuscate that and yell vote blue no matter who at people and expect it to work, which is the reason why I think Trump will probably win. In the few months that the election plays out. But that's not me. That me pointing out these failures isn't helping helping Trump in any way. It's helping people understand why these far-right candidates keep getting elected. It keeps happening because of this liberal obfuscation.
Do you believe that people who say like blue no matter who are actually helping Trump instead?
Yeah, I do think the people who say blue no matter who are aiding Trump. I think that, and that's the thing, they think that they're helping. They think that they're being politically smart and expedient by trying to slap these short-term fixes on long-standing systemic problems. But what they're doing is further alienating the voting base, the working class people in America. You're further alienating them by yelling vote blue no matter who at them.
Okay. I would like to hear Liz's and then Dylan's response to that.
Wait, so like you have to like it's still like you can do all this. You can like change the Democratic Party, try and like change this like neoliberal establishment, whatever. You can do that and then tell people it's probably a good idea to vote for Biden too. Like those are not like separate concepts. You can like do everything you can to change that while like telling people to vote for Biden because it's a hell of a lot better than Trump. Like I don't see why these two things are like you
tell
can do both.
anyone.
Like,
I'm not going to tell anyone to do anything, which is what I said at the beginning of this. People
like you
can
tell
vote.
People for Bernie.
No,
Bernie was running.
people vote. Yeah, of course, because Bernie represents a break from that status quo. And I can advise people based on my own politics. But right now, I'm not telling people don't vote for Biden. I'm not telling people to vote for Trump. I'm saying I think based on these trends, Trump is going to win. That's what I'm saying. I'm not telling people can vote for whoever the fuck they want to vote for, in my opinion. I don't care who anyone votes for. That's between you and the fucking voting ballot and your conscience. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything I'm interested in. But looking at trends, looking at the political trajectory of the American atmosphere, looking at the failures, the previous failure of the Democratic establishment makes me believe that Trump is going to win. And I think that it's absolute obfuscation to not look at the reasons why Trump won last time and why he may very well win again this time. And also in my own country, in the United Kingdom, we've had 2 elections, both of which were swept up by the Conservatives, both of which had a very progressive candidate at the forefront, Jeremy Corbyn. And there are reasons, systemic reasons within the Labour Party, systemic reasons in terms of the obfuscation that went on there, and also systemic reasons in terms of like the neoliberal consensus that caused these failures to keep happening. And we have to look at those failures. We can't just sweep them under the rug and say that it's because, oh, this person these people didn't vote, or because of the leftists on Twitter, or it's because of Russia, or it's because of the stupid racist pause. There are deep flaws in the way that the Democratic establishment operates, and that's why they keep losing. Okay. And I think that that's a more expedient conversation to have than Bernie or bust, which is just stupid culture war bullshit.
Okay, so the poll was passed to me next.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Unlike Angie, I genuinely care how people vote, because I know how people vote ends up impacting the world and what policies are implemented and how people, what their material conditions are in the right now, right? And so that's why I personally care if somebody ends up not voting for Biden, voting for Trump, or voting third party, or voting however. And so that's why I would want to generally direct them towards voting for Biden, because I think it's going to improve the material conditions in my community, in the community surrounding my community, and the country as a whole, and the world as a whole. I think it's going to make it better. Better than its current. I wasn't finished. It's better, and I think that would be better, right? And when it comes to you didn't let me talk. I'm going to talk. When it comes to the idea of vote blue no matter who and whether it helps Biden, right? Whether that helps Trump. Vote blue no matter who is basically putting into words what the Republicans have been doing for years, which have made them politically effective. Their ability to unite around a candidate and the strong amount of party unity they have. You could... The libertarians, it doesn't matter who you are around that, usually they end up aligning with who the Republican is, and that gives them extreme election supremacy when it comes into that realm. And the Democrats are trying to match that with their own message of uniting with, hey, at the end of the day, we have disagreements, and we're going to have a fierce primary, everybody, but at the end of the day, we should vote blue, because our guy will be better than whoever the Republicans put forward, and it'll make everybody's life better.
Mate, nah. It's false unity, and it's also insulting to the intelligence of voters. I can give you the example of black voters in America who have been told vote blue no matter who for generations. You know, the white boogeyman. The white boogeyman on this side is absolutely better for the black community than the white boogeyman on the other side. And, you know, during the 2016 election, you saw historical numbers of black voters shifting towards voting for fucking Trump. The fact of the matter is, telling people vote blue no matter what the Democratic establishment does, no matter how disloyal it is to your interests, to your material interests, you have to vote blue no matter who,
again.
because the threat on the other side is worse. The threat on the other side is much worse. The threat on the other side is much worse. It's insulting to the intelligence of voters. And to speak to your other point, you can do that. You can go around and rally for Joe Biden if that's what you choose to do with your time. Nobody's going to stop you from doing that. Nobody's going to say that you're a villain for doing that. But that doesn't mean it's going to work, mate.
Well, vote blue.
Let me finish. The fact of the matter is, there are deeper systemic issues, deeper issues in terms of the neoliberal consensus that people are dissatisfied with. So just yelling vote blue no matter who isn't what's going to get Trump out of the White House. If you want to get Trump out of the White House, you have to present the population with a candidate that is a divorce from the status quo that people are sick of, the status quo that people are tired of. People don't want more status quo, even to the point where they're willing to put right-wing populists like Trump into seats of power just as a break from that status quo. Just as a break from that status quo. People were calling Trump the chaos candidate. People, no matter how much the liberal media screamed and cried about how terrible he was, he still managed to mobilize enough people to vote to put him in power. And that should happen for a reason. And you have to look at those reasons. You can't just yell vote blue no matter who and expect it to have the effect that you want.
Okay, Dylan, your response?
The thing is, she would have a general point if that's how vote blue no matter who is going to be used. It's for the Democratic primary. They're not going to go to either like Republicans who might flip, or to independents, or to the 20% in the middle that we need to win an election. They're not going to go to them with, remember guys, in the general election, vote blue no matter who. That's something within the party to unite Democrats who are registered Democrats and vote in the primary, because
that's not what I'm saying.
What you're saying is that's not a message that's going to win voters, but that's not how that message is going to be used.
It's also not a message that's going to unite people who were on the Bernie Sanders ticket with the Democratic establishment that fucks them and that literally fucked them.
Well, yeah, that's not what they're using to unite Bernie people.
Yeah, it is. It's specifically the stick that's being used to beat.
Well, no, policy is the stick.
It's not just policy. It's the idea of party loyalty. Well, the idea of party loyalty under policy. That's the stick that's being used to beat people who are on the Bernie Sanders ticket into capitulating under the Biden ticket. And I'm saying that it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Okay, well, number one, a big part of it is policy. Bernie Sanders' team and his foreign policy team, actually very specifically has been highlighted, has been meeting with Biden's teams to like hash out some compromises on issues. Biden has let Bernie try to keep his delegates and say he's winning going forward, which is not usually a thing the winning candidate does, which shows that they want to give them more policy weight at the convention. That's going to be used as something to drag them over. Direct messaging to Bernie's community is going to be used.
All of that's true, but I don't think that it's going to work. People are distrustful of these neoliberal candidates. And they showed that in 2016. People are distrustful of these neoliberal candidates. People do not want another fucking 8 years of Obama. They don't want another 8 years of a neoliberal technocrat in the White House. People are distrustful of that. So I don't think that it's going to work. And that's my position.
Okay, but all this is irrelevant, right? Because Biden is already the nominee. There is no world where, there's like a tiny fucking chance that like they replace Biden or something. But aside from like Biden's the nominee. It's over. So you have a position on
just because he's the nominee. Just because he's the nominee doesn't mean he's going to win.
I never said he was good.
Okay, let me clarify. I think Liz feels a little bit frustrated because she thinks that like the rhetoric about Biden is not going to win will result into people not voting, which will lead to Biden to lose. And Angie, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying no, that rhetoric will have little to no impact. What really will lead Biden to lose is how the status quo currently is. Am I wrong at representing either of your sides?
I don't think so.
Okay. So to me, it seems like one of you guys, or I'm trying to think of how to phrase this the best way.
I do not know what's up with
Angie,
my mic. It
do
keeps
you
cutting out
think
after
Biden
time.
would be the least harm candidate?
Yeah, it keeps getting quieter and quieter over time. I don't know what's up.
And in certain aspects, no.
I don't know what's up.
Okay, so you
It's
don't
weird.
think Biden will be the least harm candidate?
In
certain aspects.
In certain aspects, no, I don't think he would be the least harm candidate.
Okay. So that's why you personally do not advocate for people should vote for Biden or not, because at the end of the day you believe two things, that it's up to them, and you don't believe that in most or in all aspects or in whatever amount of aspects he would be the least harm candidate. Am I wrong? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're correct, I said.
Oh, okay.
Wait. So, and just not certain, overall, you do agree that Biden is superior to Trump, right? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I said in some askbacks in terms of
I mean overall.
Boy,
in
come
terms
on,
Not
Mike.
certain aspects.
Mike, come
Well,
on.
You're not answering the question.
finish,
Overall.
Can I finish my fucking statement? In certain aspects, in terms of the policies that they're running on, in terms of the platforms that they've put forward, like I said, there are certain areas where some of the things that Trump has put forward are more progressive than what Joe Biden has put forward. There are certain aspects where Trump is more, where Joe Biden. Some of the let me finish what I'm saying.
Overall,
there are certain aspects. There are certain aspects. There are certain aspects where Joe Biden is more progressive than Trump.
I honestly don't know.
But either way, for me, there is no lesser of two evils in this equation. I think that they are. I think that if it comes to the a toss up between Joe Biden and Trump,
it has to be Discord.
There's no dog for me in that fight. Like, I don't particularly see either one as being better than another.
So you would say it's too close to call for you personally, like there's
America.
not enough moral calculus that you can put in place for you to be like, yes, I think this one is slightly better.
Not for me. I think Kalia is trying to say something.
Oh, Kalia, go for it. Hello?
Your mic is muted, Kalia.
Everyone's mics are screwed. Just my Discord DMs?
Kalia.
Oh, snap.
1, 2, 3, you there?
Go to advanced.
Okay. It seems like they're having technical difficulties. I'll send a question mark in chat.
For your mic to go to your sound control panel.
Yeah, so Dylan, do you want to respond to that while I try to get Kali on?
Sorry, I've been paying a little bit
I'm
less...
here, sorry.
There you go.
Did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah, him. Okay.
Dylan, go ahead.
No, I was literally saying I haven't been paying attention, but trying to fix my mic.
Oh shit. Okay. Liz, do you want to say something before I give the floor back?
I'll talk.
Okay. Yay, Kalia.
So a lot of Angie's points I 100% agree with. The biggest problem with Biden right now is the fact that he is just going to be another establishment candidate. And after a long history of marginalized and minoritized people in the U.S., seeing people like Obama touted as the newest, the best progressive candidate, and Clinton administration and all this being touted as the new thing that's going to help you in the long run. And when deportations still happen, and when, marginalized people are still being crushed under capitalism, and when, gentrification is still running rampant in African-American communities, they're going to see all of these things happening, and they're not going to want to vote for Biden. Because it's just going to be another means to an end for them to get stomped on. It's not whether Trump is better or Biden is better. They're both equally bad in the eyes of a marginalized person, because they're both going to come to the same ends.
Also, the key point to take away here is the fact that the like you said there, it's a continuation of the same systemic issues that affect people who are marginalized, poor, people who come from poor and working class communities. And, having these sort of liberals yell, vote blue no matter who, seems sort of tone deaf to the concerns that these communities have about the way that, and especially the idea that it's harm reduction, when historically it hasn't been harm reduction. Historically,
Okay.
No, historically, it has not been harm reduction. No, it has not.
See, you don't think-
What happened? What was the key feature
Even
that
the
was
last
going on?
presidency, like fucking
What
ACA's
key
passed that
feature?
shit.
No, the thing about liberals is that all that you guys care about is affect. You don't care.
Yeah,
you
of
don't care
course I
about.
do. What?
No, all you care about is affect. I didn't say effect. I said affect. The problem is Trump's affect is offensive to your standard PMC liberal who's been indoctrinated in
It's not just
PM. Let me fucking finish. Like... No, it's also the affect, because many of his policies are continuations. Many of his policies are continuations of his predecessors' policies. The policies that Trump has enacted are a carry on from the policies of his predecessor. The problem with liberals is that
really?
the problem
like
with liberals.
DACA, trying to like.
Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish my fucking? Can I finish a sentence?
Hey.
You talk more than anyone else.
Hey, is it working again? Is that true?
Well, yeah, because you don't make any
is that what I
fucking
needed
sense.
to do?
That's why. The major issue is that the plight of minorities, the plight of the so-called marginalized people that these liberals claim to want to protect, didn't change under President Obama. In fact, in many ways, they became worse. And it seems to me as if liberals care more about affect than they actually do about the tangible effects and outcomes of these different presidencies. Many liberals, if Trump was like a woke Democrat, they wouldn't care. It's all about affect. The fact that he's brash. Let me finish. The fact that he's brash.
You've been talking 5 minutes now. Okay.
The fact that he's brash. The fact that he doesn't adhere to liberal moral hegemony, the fact that he is kind of rough in his demeanor, is what the major issue is for a lot of these liberals. Because when it comes to the actual issues that affect social justice, you guys close your eyes on those things, even to the point where people are shaming Joe Biden's sexual assault accusation.
What is that to do? Holy shit!
Wait, I'm gonna cut in for a second. So a couple of things. Is it okay if I add one more, two more people to this call? Would you guys feel okay with that?
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah. This is okay.
Fucking content.
Liz, I'm gonna give you the floor for a little while. Go.
Okay, so do you not see? Did you actually think? Do you unironically believe that marginalized communities, nothing has happened? ACA didn't fucking exist. DACA didn't happen. There's all of this shit. Have you looked at Joe Biden's policy page at all? Have you looked at what the Obama's administration has done? It's not perfect, but gay people get married now. There's so many fucking things. Trying to act like there's continuations of the same thing. So many actual minority groups and actual struggling communities.
I don't understand why you're bringing up gay people getting married, because on the same day that they issued the gay marriage under the U.S., they also put into law that the police can search your house without a warrant. The gay marriage thing was just a cover up to pass some policing intrusive bullshit.
You think the gay marriage thing was a cover up to pass? Oh, I don't know.
Liberals will often make cynical. They'll often make cynical concessions towards social justice to conceal deeper systemic obfuscation, and it happens all the time. It happens so often. During the Obama administration, one of the key political topics that was on the horizon was the Black Lives Matter issue. The fact that there were people in unarmed Black Americans who are dealing with institutional police brutality, for instance. Not only that, Obama was also incredibly draconian in terms of his immigration policy as well. He was incredibly draconian in terms of his foreign policy. The list could go on. So the idea that the plight of marginalized people is all these neoliberal candidates do is make cynical nods to marginalized communities whenever it's politically expedient for them to do so.
Cynical nods gay marriage and DACA and the ACA.
I gotta keep checking my mind. Make sure it's
nothing
good.
to you, right?
No, I didn't say that those things were nothing, but they were employed cynically. Yes, I do believe that they were employed cynically. in order to
That was
obfuscate a
pretty
lot
fucking
of.
big things. Like
Yeah, but they
fucking
were
Iran deal. Let's talk about foreign
they're
policy.
employed. They're employed.
Huge.
There are a lot of these different concessions that these neoliberals make, especially on issues of identity and social justice, are done to obfuscate deeper systemic problems a lot of the time, which is the reason why there isn't as much momentum in terms of trying to convince minorities that the only thing that stands between them and moral chaos is the democratic establishment.
Okay, so when you're talking about affect and how, like, oh, all these liberals, all they care about is Trump said fuck on Twitter and that's why they want to remove him. I don't believe that. I don't think Liz believes that. I don't think Dario, who just walked in and is about to, like, put in pile drivers, I don't know what he's about to do. We don't believe that. You can argue against someone who's not here. You can beat at the straw man all day. Have fun. Whack away. But what I care about is the policies, and I'm happy we're moving on to the policies and the differences and how it was really bad under Obama. There's a lot of things I disagree with Obama. Him not stopping what happened, what was going on in Yemen when it started is something I disagree with. Libya is something I disagree with. There's a lot of things I disagree. Edward Snowden is something I would have disagreed with him. I disagreed with him miles on. But I think when people talk about Obama's, like, ratcheting up of drone strikes, for instance, right? They leave out the idea that, okay, what would Mitt Romney have done in that same position? A lot of it has to do with technological improvements with drones themselves and them being used.
Oh my god. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Sorry, did you stub your toe? Why'd you speak up?
Because I didn't stub my toe, but I honestly think that that's like a complete and utter, like, just absolute bollocks. The idea that what Mitt Romney would have done would have been any worse than what Obama did. Like, it doesn't
You
make
think
any
Mitt
sense.
Romney would have done the Iran deal, gay marriage? You would have been with the ACA? You think it would have been good on any of those? Please tell me about Mitt Romney's. Netanyahu personally campaigned for Mitt Romney in Florida and went and met with him because Netanyahu hated Obama so much because of the hand he was trying to put out to the Arab world in 2008 to 2012. And you're going to tell me that they would have been the same on that at all?
That's why I said that they would be the same when I was talking specifically about the droning.
No, he would have hyped it up much more than Obama.
No, I
hyped it
don't
up.
think that that's. I don't
Really?
think that that's true at all.
Really?
I don't think that that's true at all.
You
I
do?
don't think that
Okay,
it's true.
so what was Mitt
I don't
Romney's
think that it's
policy
true.
on drones?
I
Please
don't
tell
think
me.
that I don't think that it's true that Obama. I don't think that it's true that Obama would have been any less draconian, because this is a continuation. The foreign policy issues that we see in America in terms of how it deals on the international stage it's a continuum.
You genuinely think
It doesn't just stop with one specific candidate. It's a continuum. It's a continuation of a trend of U.S. imperialism.
You generally think, I'm gonna throw it one last time, give you the easiest softball. You actually think that the person were Netanyahu, one of the most racist, bigoted leaders in the world today, someone who said that he thinks the Arabs orchestrated the Holocaust as part of his propaganda against Arab communities in the Middle East, has some of the sniping of children across the border, just going straight into Syrian airspace, attacking at will. Fuck it. You think someone who was ready to do airstrikes inside of Iran on nuclear facilities, you think someone who took the time to come to Florida to campaign with him, meet with him in person, shake his hand because he hated Obama so much because he thought he was a fucking pussy, you think that person wouldn't have done more airstrikes or been more draconian in foreign policy than Barack Obama?
Wait, let's go into Obama's drone policy.
Okay,
Why
let's
don't
go
we
into it.
into that. Let's go into Obama's drone policy. If
I know it
that's okay.
extensively.
Okay, so talk about it then.
Okay.
What's your position?
My position on Obama's drone strikes is I believe the rules for
that
engagement.
they were soft, that they were fine drone
no, I
strikes.
don't think
And that, like, what's the point of what you're trying to illustrate?
The point I'm making.
My point.
Well, you just asked me a question.
My point.
Holy
my
fucking
point
shit.
Okay,
My
wait,
point
I'm
is.
gonna everybody in a second, okay? Angie, you have literally 10 seconds and then Dylan, okay? 10 seconds. I'm counting down by the hand.
My point is that U.S. foreign policy doesn't just end and stop with one specific candidate. That
Okay.
these things are an escalation. They're a continuation of U.S. foreign policy that's been around for longer than Obama was around, longer than his
Okay,
predecessor.
yeah, I counted down the seconds. Dylan, your turn.
Well, yes, of course. A good example would be the Iraq War. A Republican got us involved in the Iraq War, lied to get us involved in the Iraq War, invaded Iraq, did those policies, and Obama becomes president. Obama, of course, after 2008, can't just say, well, let's all leave, just all fucking leave. Even though he tried in 2011 to get us out of Iraq, there has to be a certain consistency to American foreign policy until it properly shifts. Like the Iran deal was one of the options, and Obama tried to do in 2008 to a certain extent, even though I disagree with a lot of his shit when it comes to Libya, or how some of how he handled the Arab Spring.
My point. That's my point.
Right, let Dylan finish, Andy. Andy, let Dylan finish.
When it comes to comparisons between Obama and Bush and Mitt Romney and every other option, fucking John McCain, they were not comparable really when it comes to the foreign policy stances. And when we talk about drones specifically, a large reason why the amount of drone strikes increased was the increasement of use. Drones started to be used, and when people say, this is the thing I hear all the time, and I do condemn Obama for his drone strikes, but let's think about this. In 2006 was when drones were really starting to be heavily used in combat situations. Before then, it was mostly fighter jets who'd go in and bomb. When you look at the Kuwait War or any of those things, it's fighter jets, stealth bombers, B-52s doing these strikes. Once Bush gets 2 years of drone usage, and then you get 8 years of Obama using drones, of course it went up on that aspect, but also I disagree with the rules of engagement under Obama. I disagree with the amount of drone strikes. You asked me about his drone policy. You just don't know shit about it, so you can't engage on it.
No, that's not true. My point is, which is the point that you keep trying to obfuscate by going on and on and on, is that it's a continuation, and the idea that somebody like Joe Biden is harm reduction makes no sense, considering the fact that what you literally just said, that what Obama did was a continuation of policy before him, and that U.S. Foreign policy has to have some sort of continuity in terms of how it operates on the international stage.
Yeah.
So the idea that somebody like Joe Biden is harm reduction based on that assertion makes absolutely no sense to me. It's a continuation of U.S. foreign policy, which is imperialism.
Well,
we're talking about imperialism.
I'm gonna cut in for a second, okay? I want to introduce two people who just came on the panel. I should have introduced them earlier. My fault. The Reckoning and then Scuff Dario. So I just want you guys to say just what your position is and like a brief explanation why. So the Reckoning, you go first, then Dario.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm the Reckoning, and I'm kind of agreeing with Angie. I'm sure I'm going to hear it from Dylan and Scuff Dario for sure. And
Sedosia.
Yes, Sedosia. I didn't know how to say her name correctly. So,
Okay.
Talia, and thanks for inviting me on, Pixie. We're looking to engage in some good conversation.
Okay, Scuff Dario, your turn.
Yeah, hey everyone. You probably saw me rage in chat quite a lot during the conversation. Basically, I think that the points that have put forward so far have been quite unsubstantial from the opposing side, and I would like to just ask a few questions, if I may, at some point, to clarify sort of the positions of everyone.
Go for it. You can ask questions right now.
Sure. So Angie, I just have one question. So you said earlier that Trump and Biden have some policy that they're better or worse than the other on. Can you name one policy right now on the books where Trump is more progressive than Biden? Just one.
I talked about drug policy and Trump's position on legalization and Biden's historic position on legalization.
Can you tell me what Biden's position right now is on weed?
Well, Joe Biden has recently changed his position on legalization.
Oh, okay.
But historically, which is what I was talking about before, his position on legalization has been incredibly draconian.
Okay, and historically, Joe Biden's position on gay marriage has been against it, but he also advocated for it and was the one who convinced Obama to be pro-gay marriage, so people change based on what their constituents
I'm
think.
not saying it's impossible for people to change. I made a superficial analysis of different policies that these candidates have.
That's fine. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's fine. So let me just repeat the question then again. Can you name one policy right now proposed by Trump that is more progressive than what Biden is proposing? Just one right now.
In terms of just in terms of the coronavirus crisis that's going on, that's an example. The platform that Trump proposed in terms of how to deal with it was giving people money, basically, and that's something.
And what has Biden proposed? Can you tell me?
Biden, I believe, proposed a specific. It was like a form of tax credit or something, some sort of means tested. Some sort of means tested.
Okay, so I can actually tell you, because I actually looked this up yesterday. So Biden has multiple times stated on his Twitter, said that what Trump is doing is critically insufficient, and says that people should receive way more support than what Trump is proposing right now for Corona, and saying that the way that Trump has been handling it is a disgrace to the American people. So you think Biden would be doing worse?
I don't necessarily think that Trump's answer to the coronavirus crisis is the best response. But at the same time, the overall point that I'm trying to make, which is the thing that people keep trying to like obfuscate.
How are you all doing?
Wait, let me finish. The overall point that I'm trying to make is
Wasn't muted.
Trump. I don't think that Joe Biden is going to win, and I think it's because of deeper problems with the Democratic establishment.
Sure,
that's been my point. That's been my point from day one.
Sure, that's fine. Again, I just want to repeat one more time. Can you one policy?
Hang on. I just got kicked. Hang on. I'm just rejoining the thing. My thing just thing. My point is, I'm not here to argue about
By the way,
policy.
why is she in the,
I'm here to state my position,
what's the point?
which is I don't think that Joe Biden is going to, even if he had the best policies in the world,
right?
Even if every single policy he had, Trump was more progressive than Trump's, even if it trumped every single position that Trump offered, I don't think that in this general election, Joe Biden will win, and I think it's because of deeper problems with the Democratic establishment. That is my position.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
Even if you're correct that Joe Biden has the most progressive platform and there are no policies that Trump has that are more progressive than Joe Biden's platform, the major issue for me here is the fact that the Democratic establishment has failed. It's failed to speak to the needs of American people and to speak to what they want to see a break from, which is the neoliberal consensus, which is the reason why someone like Trump was voted in the first place, because people were tired of that neoliberal consensus, and trying to shove more neoliberal consensus in front of people's faces isn't a way of addressing the political climate that's clearly screaming out to be addressed.
Okay,
that's
so
my point.
I have two. Actually, it's one statement and one question. So the first statement is, if what you're saying is true, and we both right now agreed, or at least you granted me, that all of Joe Biden's policies are more progressive than Trump's, if you're saying that you don't think that Biden is going to win, wouldn't it then make sense for you to advocate more for Biden if Biden is more progressive than Trump on every single policy? If you don't I'll let you speak. Just let me speak real quick. So that was just a statement. That wasn't like a question. So I have a question. So can you name me one data point that isn't like a projection of yours, but like one data point which would suggest that Trump is going to beat Biden in 2020? Just one data point.
Second, but while I'm looking for what I found, I want to answer your statement first.
Okay.
Which is the statement that it would be more expedient to advocate for Biden.
Yeah, if we both agreed that he was more progressive, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the thing. I'm not advocating for anybody. I'm saying what I think is going to happen. Because because there are deeper problems with the Democratic establishment. Even if I advocated until I was blue in the face, the same way in 2016 when I was still a liberal, when I still sort of had that analysis of the world, I advocated for Hillary Clinton until I was blue in the face. It didn't change the fact that Trump won. Trump still won.
Sure.
I advocated, and I waved the Hillary Clinton banner until my fucking arms turned blue, and it didn't change the fact that Trump won. And the reason Trump won is because there are deeper problems
Imagine
with the
thinking
Democratic
that
establishment, and I
you
feel like that's
individually
more of a
going for
conversation
somebody, they
worth
lost, so
having
why even try
than,
again?
oh, Bernie
Holy
or bust.
shit,
That's
really?
just dumb culture
That's
warfare
crazy.
that I'm not interested in.
Sure, but wait. But I think all of us agree. All of us here agree that there are deep problems with the Democratic establishment. At least
Yeah.
I do. Like I'm a socialist.
We should talk about them. That's what we should talk
Sure,
about.
but
We
this
should
isn't
talk about
the
why
panel.
we
But this
keep
isn't the
failing.
panel. This isn't
Well,
the panel.
the panel is my panel.
Sure.
The panel,
I made you aware of what my position was before I came on. I told you,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm asking you about your position specifically. I'm asking you, can you give me one data point? Because usually when we make predictions, when we say what is going to happen, we base that off of data, right?
So Politpolls, Politpolls, trust more to handle was the topic of discussion. I have it in front of me right now. So who do the public trust more to handle? The economy.
Okay.
46% Trump, 37% Joe Biden. Jobs. For 43% Trump, 39% Joe Biden. National security. 43% Trump. 39%.
Sure. Yeah. I noticed that. Okay.
Wait, let me finish. So even if I'm going to give it to you that this is the most progressive candidate, why is it? This is a question that liberals refuse to answer. Why is it that the majority of the American population trust Trump, according to this poll anyway, trust Trump more to handle all of these different issues than they do Joe Biden? That is the question that is worth asking. Why is it?
Yeah.
Why
so
is that Trump's platform, as flawed as Trump's platform is, none of us here like him. We're all some version of left. We all know Trump is the great Satan, whatever. As much as we dislike him, and as much as we dislike his policies, as much as we dislike his character, whatever the fuck, why is it that so many more people trust him on these issues than they do Joe Biden? Why is there such a disdain? Why is there such a disdain for the Democratic establishment? These are the questions that we ask.
The reason why this doesn't really matter as much is because in all of these stats that you're talking about right now, like how much they think they can trust a candidate, Bernie blew it out of the park in every single one of those against every other candidate during the race, and Biden still won. So this is why. And the next point is the way that elections are decided. Unfortunately, I agree. Unfortunately, isn't by policies most of the time, like the candidates' policies. We talk about them a lot because we are usually, I would hope, very informed voters. But at the end of the day, what decides elections is battleground states. It's swing states. And in every single swing state, almost every single state, not every single, but almost every single swing state, Biden is blowing it out of the park against Trump. Even states that Trump won in 2016, Biden is destroying Trump. In a state like Florida, which has 29 electoral votes, Biden is currently winning, and that swung hard for Trump in 2016.
If you look at 2016, every single data point that you're talking about
pointed.
Yes, they did.
This isn't how data works.
Let me finish how I'm saying. If in 2016, the same was said of Hillary Clinton during her run against Trump. The same was said of her. It was almost like they declared a preemptive victory for her before it even happened.
Sure.
It didn't. Let me finish what I'm saying. And it didn't happen. And my overarching point is, I do not think that Joe Biden. My overarching point is, I don't think that Joe Biden is going to win. He might win. That's a very big possibility. But at the same time, in terms of looking at trends, I don't think that that's what's going to happen.
So just let me repeat my question one more time. Can you give me one data point, like one poll, because that's usually how we like form our opinions based on like data. Like, can you give me like one poll or like one data point which would suggest that Trump is gonna win in 2020 over Biden? Not how favorable he is, not how much people trust him on issues, but like how he's actually going to win by beating Biden in the elections, like in the battleground states, in the like electoral votes.
If you asked me the same question this time around 2016, I probably wouldn't have been
Do
able
you
to
do you realize that in 2016 it was two people who weren't facing an incumbent? Like it was two unknowns, and Trump was a complete unknown. Do you realize how data science? Like I have an education within data science. You know that when you predict things that are within margin of error and they happen, it doesn't mean the polls are wrong. Do you realize that the polls from Hillary Clinton, if you actually look at just before the election happened, Trump was standing to be able to win within margin of error. Just because Hillary has a 70% chance to win doesn't mean that the polls are wrong. This is how polling works. This is how data science works. And even if I grant you that the polls were not completely accurate in 2016, these people do this for their full-time jobs. They will adapt the polls when they find out that they're not as accurate.
You're literally trying to make it seem as if I'm saying that my point is the polls were wrong. So therefore,
well, that was your point.
No, that's not my point. My point, and I'm sorry if I made it seem as if that was my point, but that's not my point.
Okay.
My point is that the polls that are currently happening right now are not necessarily predictive of whether Trump will win or not. They're not predictive of whether Trump will win.
But they're the best data that we.
It's impossible for me. It's impossible for me to say right now whether or not Joe Biden is going to win. What I'm saying is I think he won't win.
Sure, but when what
I'm saying is I think he won't win based on the political climate of the country and what people have been dissatisfied with in the past, which is the neoliberal consensus, which is the fact that people are tired of seeing these neoliberal candidates pushed forward as solutions, short-term solutions to long-term systemic problems. That's my point. I'm not making grand assertions here based on data science. I'm talking about the political climate of the country and why Trump was elected in the first place.
Sure, but usually, I mean, I can say I think that actually what's going to happen is Trump is going to get elected, and then Santa Claus is going to come down the chimney, reinstate Bernie instead, and then Bernie is going to be president. But usually, when we make predictions, we try and make predictions based off of data.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, but I'm asking you.
And I'm saying
to make your prediction, can you give me a data point which would suggest, or like a poll, or like a swing state result that you think is going to go Trump's way that is currently?
It's still speculative because it's not been declared. Victory hasn't been declared, and there's still a long way to go. What I'm saying is, I don't think that Joe Biden is going to win. Are you saying that with the data that you have right now?
I am saying with the best.
Let me finish. Are you saying with the best data with the best data that you have right now that you can declare a preemptive victory for Joe Biden?
No.
Exactly.
Of course not.
I'm not laying any claim to truth here by saying, oh, I think Joe Biden is definitely going to lose. I'm saying I think he probably won't win against Trump based on the political climate of the country. That's not the same as saying I have scientific political data that proves that Joe Biden isn't going to win. So I'm saying I don't think he's going to win based on the political climate of the country. The same way you wouldn't say to me that based on the data that you have right now, based on the states he's won in, that you could declare a preemptive victory for him. That wouldn't make sense. I'm saying I don't think he's going to win based on the political climate of the country. That's not the same as me saying I think he's definitely not going to win based on X data or this or that.
Sure. Okay, so I'm very familiar with the data because I did a lot of data work, like looking at Bernie's campaign, who I supported very much, who is also now advocating for Joe Biden, by the way. So I looked into this a lot, and it would seem like the political climate right now, at least for like the Democratic Party and like independents as well, very much support Biden or are very much anti-Trump. Trump has some of the lowest approval ratings in recent history of any president in the last like 20 years. Like by far, it's not even close. Like he only has the Republican votes, not even independents like Trump. So it seems like if we look at the data behind why people why people are voting for Biden, I think it was 70% voted because he thought he was going to be the best one to beat Trump. And if we look at the voting turnout that Biden has been getting from the Democratic electorate, if we look at Trump's approval ratings from independents and from Democrats and even from Republicans, if you look at all of the available data combined with the current polling, which when I look at polling, I don't just look at the number, I actually go into the poll and see like how they ask the questions, how reliable it is. I go to like 538 to realize like, is this a reputable poller? Do they have a past of reporting polls correctly? If all of this data suggests that Biden is going to beat Trump right now with the available data that we have, I'm just asking you, what do you use to make your argument? Like, is it just a random thought that you have? Is it just like
are you saying that based on the data that is available right now,
yes,
you believe that Biden will beat Trump?
Yes, that is what all the data seems to suggest. If you have differing data, like data that suggests otherwise or like suggests the opposite, I would be more than willing to change my position.
Then again, you could. Well, what was I gonna say? Yeah, then again, the same thing happened, like I said before, in 2016, where a lot of the data looked like Hillary Clinton was going to beat Trump, and that didn't happen.
We went.
My point is, things can still change. Things can still change, regardless.
Sure, but we went over this, right? So in 2016, Trump was a complete unknown.
Wait, sorry, something's playing on my computer. Okay, there we go. Sorry, continue.
Okay, so we went over this, right? So in 2016, Trump was a complete unknown, which was completely fought against from the entire Republican Party until he actually won their favor. So it would make sense that Trump would be hard to predict whether or not he would do well. And even though the predictions were hard to make, the polls that were happening just before the election weren't false. They were accurate.
No one's saying that they were false. I'm saying things changed. I'm not saying that the fucking data scientists like falsified polls. I'm saying things changed.
Sure, but do you have?
I'm saying things changed, and things still have the capacity to change. And then again, that puts me in the position of whether I'm arguing of whether Trump would win or not, like it's something that I think is a desirable outcome. Honestly, my point is I don't think that Joe Biden will win based on my observations of the political climate. Things could very well be the opposite of what I'm saying in terms of polling and in terms of the way people are voting. But I think it's too early to say for sure that Joe Biden is going to win. I think it's too early to say sure that.
Just like one last point, and then I can let like others speak. So just to finish off my point, because I feel like we're sort of reaching a stalemate here. Like if I were to make it, like if I was a political pundit and I was to make a prediction, I would want to have like some sort of data point which could back up my prediction. And I don't think saying that things can change or that polling could change down the line isn't like a valid argument.
That's not what I'm saying.
Sense.
That's not what I'm saying. The data that you're espousing is there. Things very well may be swinging in Joe Biden's favor, but that doesn't mean I'm going to preemptively declare victory for him.
No, but that's not what anyone is asking. I'm just asking you, like, what are you basing your prediction on?
I'm basing
because we can all say things can change. I mean, I can say tomorrow the Earth can die.
I'm basing my prediction on
the
clear. I'm basing my position on the clear dissatisfaction with the neoliberal status quo, the clear dissatisfaction with the Democratic Party and the way that it operates. These are the things that I'm basing my my assertions on.
Okay,
the dissatisfaction coming from the Democratic electorate.
In general, there's been a lot of people who haven't spoken. The reckoning. Do you want to say anything?
Dario, can you give me 3 Rust Belt states of the aggregate polls right now? Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
Sure. Michigan, Biden is up by 6 points. Pennsylvania, Biden is up by 4.8 points. And what else did you say?
Wisconsin,
let me see here. Biden is up by 2.2 points. Those were the 3 states. And other states in Minnesota, Biden is up by 12 points. In Virginia, Biden's up by 8 points. Maine, Biden 8 points. Florida, state that Trump won with 29 electoral vote, Biden is up by 2.7 votes. We can go through this all day if you want.
mean, would you think that 2 to 3% would be within the margin?
Sure. But if you but I guess if you know about margin of error, you also know that whenever you make a prediction of a number, let's say plus 2.9, that is the most likely outcome, and then moving down, it is less and less likely. So even though it is within margin of error, that margin of error is much more unlikely. So you would say maybe Biden has a 90% chance to win something where he has a, let's say, a 3-point lead where the margin of error is like 3.1, something like that.
Okay, so real quick, too, you were correct about the Hillary Clinton thing with the her winning the poll, I guess. So because technically she got the popular vote, but how is Biden going to, even though
by
he might
winning
get the
swing
popular vote,
states?
he might, right? Well, he might also lose the electoral college though, as well, just like Hillary Clinton did in 2016. That's a concern I have.
Well,
right now, Biden. Okay, you go, Dylan.
Well, I mean,
that's possible, right,
Dario? Of course,
so?
in an election. I'm responding. Well, of course, right? Well, of course, it can lose. Like you going into election, there's two outcomes. One person wins, the other person wins, right? That's like there's like of course that can happen. But the argument like we're trying to find out is can Biden win? Dario thinks that, like, for instance, that the data points in a certain direction. And I personally am still on the 50-50 margin. I still don't know what I put. I think I'm, like, right at the flip of a coin personally. But I definitely think that Biden can win, which is my position.
I think the point that people... if you want to, you can. Okay.
No,
I think the point...
Go.
Who's going?
You, go.
I think the point that people are trying to make right now is that just because Biden is ahead in polling in swing states like Hillary was in 2016, at basically this point in the election, doesn't mean that Biden is going to be able to pull the electoral college towards him, which, like the Reckoning said, is a concern
like
that we both have.
And
well, yeah, but
we're
yeah, but I think his analysis, like we just talked about, is we're talking about specifically those states, like the Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Florida, Virginia, North Carolina. Like, these are the states we're talking about. In those states, he's smashing it still. In some of those states, it's within the margin of error, but in a lot of those states, it's actually outside the margin. Up 8 points is definitely outside the margin of error.
Most of them, it's outside margin of error. And, like, if you look at the electoral votes, they are demonstrably in favor of Biden.
But you have to take into account that this election, this general election cycle basically just started. Trump has only just started running ads attacking Biden and vice versa.
Sure.
We're
And
going to start seeing, like, favor between these candidates drop as more of these ads and more, like, allegations and what happens.
True.
You're actually completely.
That is true to an extent, but we're not saying that Biden is going to win. That's not what anybody's saying.
But that's not what Dario is saying. That all of the data that has emerged so far points towards
he
the
thinks he'll
trajectory
win.
that Biden.
He didn't say he will.
Yeah, he's saying and I'm saying that, number one, there's still plenty of time for things to change in that regard, and also the general political atmosphere, especially left over from 2016, indicates that people don't want to see another neoliberal candidate in power, which is the reason why I think that Biden doesn't represent what the American people want to see. I'm
curious. Can you link me some data which supports that the Democrats don't want to see a quote unquote neoliberal establishment?
I didn't say the Democrats. I didn't say
okay.
The
So in
Democrats.
general, then.
Well,
in general,
if you look at it, why do you think Trump got elected? What are your why do you like that's my major
Trump
since Trump is such an anomaly. Trump is such a fucking, terrible thing. How the fuck did he manage to wrangle his way into the halls of power? I think that's more of an expedient conversation to have than
there's
we're having
two things
right now.
Sure. So there's two.
If Trump is the great, let me finish what I'm saying. If Trump is the great Satan in that regard, how did he manage to get himself into the whole? This is the conversation that is worth having. Why do the failures keep occurring?
So
With a
there's two answers here. First off, in 2016, Trump was very much an unknown. Even when elected, a lot of people, even Democrats, if you look at who was it, Ojeda, who was the guy?
Richard Ojeda.
Ojeda.
Yeah, Richard Ojeda. Like he talked about how in his Rust Belt state, how he actually voted for Trump instead of the Democrat as a lifelong Democrat because he believed that Trump would bring change to the establishment. Just like 2 months after Trump got in, he completely 180'd and changed his mind. I think that is very representative for a lot of the people who voted for Trump in 2016, who were very much disappointed with Trump put forward once he got into office, which was more Republican establishment. And it would seem so based on the data, again, that we have at hand from Trump's approval rating, which are, again, historically low. Like, he has worse approval ratings than any president in the last 30 years. By far. It's not even close.
Again, there are presidents who have had terrible approval ratings.
Not as bad as Trump.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that there haven't been other scenarios where there have been presidents who have had terrible approval ratings that have then gone on to win a second term.
That's true. That's true.
I don't think that that's good enough. I don't think that that's good enough in terms of as a point of contention for whether or not.
So I brought forth my argument based on the data. So I'm asking you, what data do you have to back up your postulations?
My point was. What got Trump elected in the first place? That was my question. What is it that put this person in power? And how are the Democrats presenting anything at the moment that would act as a counter to that?
So what got Trump elected? So what got Trump elected in the first? I'm just gonna answer a question. What got Trump elected in the first place was that he was very much an unknown, and a lot of Democrats voted for him because he was an unknown. And B, he won. First off, he won by the slimmest of margins in 2016. He didn't crush it. He won by the slimmest of margins.
He won because he represented
against the candidate who had historically low favorability ratings. Hillary Clinton was hated. Hillary Clinton was fucking hated at the end of the election cycle by fucking all the Democrats, okay?
Sorry.
Everybody fucking hated Hillary. Biden is a favored candidate. But like, I believe Dylan brought this up, right? Like, Biden generally has a pretty good approval rating amongst Democrats during most of his career. He generally has like a progressive voting record in terms of like...
The key point that you made there is the fact that Trump represented a break from the status quo.
Yes, and he didn't follow up on that.
No, nobody's saying he did. I didn't say he followed up on that. That's not the point. The point is the reason that he was an attractive candidate to people who even historically voted for the Democrats was because he represented a break from the status quo. That was his key selling point. Selling point, which is the reason he got elected in the first place.
Sure, but nobody represents that this time around, right?
No, nobody represents that this time around, which is my fucking point.
So you vote for the person who has the better policies.
I can't vote in America last time I checked, so I can't. I'm
not saying you.
You wouldn't vote for Joe Biden.
I can't vote.
That's your opinion.
I can't vote in America if so. That's not even a fucking option.
No, I'm not.
However, I don't fault anybody who doesn't want to cast their ballot for Joe Biden in this election, especially people who are tired of the status quo, who saw a candidate who represented a break from the status quo emerge on the side of the Democrats that was then obfuscated by the Democratic establishment. So no, I don't fault people who don't want to vote for Joe Biden.
I mean, Sure. So I think, like, at least from my perspective, I mean, I've been following like electoral politics for quite a while in like different countries. Generally, whenever you vote for in electoral politics, again, I'm a socialist. Like, I don't think like electoralism is going to bring upon like my utopia or whatever. When you do electoralism, your vote isn't like an endorsement of the candidate and everything they've done, right? Your vote is just one thing. Let me just finish. Your vote is just one thing that you can do to move the country in one direction or the other.
No, you're saying that I'm saying that, if you vote for a candidate, that's a tacit like endorsement of every single thing that they've done. Absolutely not. The reason why a lot of people don't want to vote in this election is because they don't see either candidate as being a break from the status quo. They see it as being more of the same. And many of them were energized. There were a lot of people who were energized just in the same way that people were energized to vote for Trump in large numbers because he represented a break from the status quo. Many of them were energized, people who hadn't even participated in politics ever before in their life. People who gave zero shits about electoral politics, people who weren't even interested in being political actors in that regard, were energized to vote for Bernie Sanders because he represented a break from the status quo. So yelling "vote blue" no matter who at those people is not a good strategy for mobilizing those people to vote for the Democratic candidate in this election. That's my overall point. You're not going to guilt and shame people into voting blue no matter who. It's not going to happen.
Wait, there's one thing I was saying. I'm gonna let Dylan speak, and then I'm gonna wait. Who was saying wait? Was that Dylan?
That was me, yeah.
I'm gonna let Dylan speak, and then I'm gonna ask a question for all of you guys to answer in general because I'm curious about it. So Dylan, finish your statement or say your statement, and then I'll say
that energized voting base. Biden has that, and he has it strong. When we look at Virginia, he turned out double what the last primary had in the state. He was turning out higher percentages for his campaign, and so many states just fucking smashing it. To my amazement, when going into Super Tuesday, I didn't think he could ever do that. I was a Bernie supporter. I didn't think he had a chance in hell in doing that. One of my main problems with Biden was his inability to energize people. But after Super Tuesday, I have no quorums with him at this state. Maybe the campaign changes extremely, but at this point, I'm pretty confident in Biden's ability to turn out voters because he's been smashing it in the primaries.
With no budget too. It's holy shit.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question. So something that I've been thinking over, something that I've seen argued a lot on lefty Twitter or whatever, is this idea that if Trump wins a second term, whether it would be better or worse for lefties or for the left in general. So here's the argument I've heard. I've heard the argument that if Trump wins a second term, kind of an accelerationist argument that then we'll have to worry with a new person running, and that way we'll have fair odds. That if Trump wins the second term, it's gonna show that we have to move more left. I've also seen the opposite argued that hey, you know what? If Trump wins the second term, the Democrats are gonna move more right because that's what they're gonna think what they need to win the second election. So I want to know what your thoughts are on the future of the Democratic Party if Trump wins and if Biden wins. Thank you.
Can I speak? Can I go?
Go for it, Kalia.
Woo. Okay, so I have plenty of opinions on this, mainly that if Trump wins in the conceptual, if Trump wins, then that will energize more progressive, more swinging progressive people to join the left and hopefully start coalition building and organizing on the local scale and unionizing. And if Biden wins, it may make some of the people that are left liberal, sedentary. They'll go, oh, this is something that concerns me a lot because I'm worried that with a lot of left-leaning liberals that if Biden gets into office, they'll become sedentary. They'll go, oh, we won. Joe Biden's in. Trump's out. We don't have to do anything anymore. I'm not saying that materially that Biden or Trump is going to be better. I'm just saying on a conceptual scale, if that makes sense.
Sure. Okay. Can I go, or
Yeah.
does somebody else want to go?
Go for it.
Sure. So I think personally that the best way to show disenfranchised people of the country and the world that you stand by them is to vote for the candidate who is promising them a $15 minimum wage to get 25 million more people covered by healthcare, who is promising to reestablish, I guess, the slimmer of fucking trans equality that currently existed in the country, and not actively take all of these things away while actively attacking Muslims all around the world with almost everything that he does. I think if you want those people to be by your side next time around, I think a very bad strategy would be to be like, hey, well, I mean, those DACA kids, I mean, they might be on our side, but hell, I mean, if Biden wins and they get deported, maybe some other people would be energized to be on our side. I don't really know how that makes sense. Like,
Well, no, like I'm not saying that like it's going to be the greater good to just let Trump go in office and then hope more people swing left. I'm just saying it is a concern of mine that I know a lot of other progressive people have voiced that what's it called? Biden getting in office will just make people become sedentary.
Ooh.
Because a lot of people who believe in
Sedentary.
electoralism that believe that electoralism is the end all be all will just say, hey, Biden got elected, I don't need to vote down ballot, I don't need to organize, I don't need to.
well, hey, I mean, if we think Biden is bad now and we actually want to energize the progressive base and shit on Biden, dude, get him into office. If we get Biden into office, you can spend at least 4 years shitting relentlessly on Biden and showing all the progressives how much better we can do next time around.
Don't you think that could lead? What do you think about the argument of like, oh, that's going to lead to a more extreme Trump in the future?
I mean, I don't think there's any basis for that
I-
argument. I mean, it's like
anything,
the chimney argument, or like,
If anything, if Trump loses, I think like the Republican Party realized that, oh, maybe fascism isn't such a winning strategy. Maybe people just really fucking hated Hillary Clinton. But if he wins
Yep.
again, I think that shows the entire fucking Republican Party that holy shit, fascism wins. Let's try it
Well,
again with even like we're like.
I mean,
I think
sorry, sorry, I cut you off.
yeah, and then a few other things like the if anything, okay, you can organize during like the like get people like motivated to organize, but also like I don't think we're going to be doing much. Like most of like anything going on like well, during a Trump presidency, basically be damage control. If anything, you need to get your person in and then do basically what the Tea Party did, and use your voter base inside the party to like leverage it and get actual change done. I don't think that doing Trump will do anything good at all. I don't know.
Wanted to say something. I wanted to say something, but you were pretty eager. So, you want to?
Historically, Republicans tend to trend towards fascism and like authoritarianism as a concept. So I don't think Trump failing is going to do anything about that. But this is all just conceptual. Like,
I would say like when we talk about like I will say that like the Republicans they like trend towards people who are like strong, like big I bomb country, I big guy,
Mr. Big America.
but yeah, bomb country, kill the terrorists, kill the families. Like that was like yeah, but
Chill,
also
Dylan,
oh god, don't clip that. But at the same time, he also wanted to pull out from the Middle East. It was like completely contradictory, but somehow it made sense. I will say though, I do think that Trump losing will definitely send signals like maybe we went a little too far, maybe pull it back a little bit. And I do think that when we talk about like, let's say Trump wins a second term, and a lot of us think like Trump getting in office made a lot of people radicalized on the left and made them like for like these cool policies with co-ops and all this other stuff that's really cool. But we don't get like if we elect Trump for a second term, not only will that tell the Republicans, yo, just going as hard as possible and saying the quiet part out loud wins elections, just keep doing it. But we assume that will continue to radicalize more people to our position and not radicalize people the other way. Like, if things go to shit, there's a lot of people who are going to be like, actually, the problem is we weren't fascist enough. Let's get a little further. And then on top of that, we assume that that'll push the Democratic Party to the left because they learn from mistakes. Their mistake might be like, shit, you're right. I mean, look how far right Trump is. We should have made it somebody even more moderate, even more to the right. You know who we're going to run in 2024? 2024, Joe Manchin. Get ready for those bumper stickers, guy. Joe Manchin 2024. And then what position we're in? Then we're even more fucked. And I think that running off this hypothetical that somehow it'll get more people radicalized and it won't just reinforce the idea that we need more Trumps in the Republican Party and it'll make it so we bring the party left. It's basing on so many things we have no clue is gonna happen that I'm not really willing to risk Kurdish, Yemeni, and American lives, more people dying over that.
No, you're absolutely right.
I think that this I think the whole notion is kind of silly. The whole idea that like it's either going to push people one way or another. The broader issue is like the neoliberal consensus, the problems in the Democratic Party and its institutions, the fact that there is a deep issue in not just in America but just like in the Western world in general, in terms of the trajectory that this neoliberal hegemony has like led us down. And regardless of whichever way the outcome swings, the problems are still going to be staring us in the face once the whole kind of dust up is over.
True.
That's the major concern. That's the major concern that I have more than anything else. It's not just about the sports race of Trump versus Biden. To me, it doesn't make, and even the promises that Biden has made, you know, in terms of his policies, I don't necessarily believe that these are things that he's gonna like fulfill. I don't think that he's going to come into office and immediately solve the healthcare problems in America, the fact that millions of uninsured Americans are dying. I don't think that much of his policy platform is going to be fulfilled in the first place. But then again, like I said, it's about the deeper issues with the problems of capitalism, the problems of neoliberalism, the ecological catastrophes that we're facing, the economic catastrophes that we're facing. All of these things have brought to bear the contradictions that are not going to go away despite what happens electorally. And I don't think either candidate is equipped to deal with the fallout of the crises that we're facing.
I mean,
so yeah,
I
think
agree
that
with you
I think
to an
this is
extent.
I think this is all sports talk in terms of like we're at the fucking horse races, and I think it's really like not what the average sort of working class person is really concerned about. And I think it also speaks to the fact that you know, the liberal establishment really isn't willing to address its problems. It just keeps scaring us with you know, the bigger boogeyman. It keeps scaring us with the idea that it's the only thing that stands between us and like moral chaos, political chaos, economic chaos. And I don't think that that's true. I don't think that that's the case. You know, there are.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Okay, I have a question to Angie in specific, and then I'll let everybody take the floor. So what do you say to people who do take neoliberal policies and think that that's the way to go to improve society? Like, what would your answer be to them?
When we talk about neoliberalism, we're talking about market solutions to social issues, social problems. And for instance, like a lot of the neoliberal solutions that have been proposed to solve climate change are basically band-aids over a gaping wound in that regard. Like we're at a stage in history, we're at a stage ecologically, we're at a stage economically where these neoliberal solutions are being shown as the facile, you know, solutions they are. And I don't think people are stupid. I think people see that. I think people are frustrated with that, rightly so. And I don't think people are satisfied with the sort of haphazard solutions that are being proposed. And that's the reason why I say socialism or barbarism, because oftentimes when the left fails to provide solutions, people tend to swing towards the right. That's kind of what happens historically. People swing towards the right. They swallow the lies and the demagoguery of right-wing candidates. They see those sort of fill the voids of the solutions that the left should be presenting. And right now, the Democrats, as the left wing of American politics, are not providing those solutions at a rate that is enough to resonate. And I think it's going to cause bigger problems in the future, much bigger problems. And I do think that something worse than Trump will eventually arise out of the ashes of all of this, which is exactly what I don't want to happen, which is why I spend a lot of time criticizing the neoliberal establishment, because that's where it's leading us to. It's leading us to something worse than what we currently have. And unless we do the work to reflect on these things, and not out of fear and out of a fear of moral chaos, capitulate to these to this consensus, then we're doing ourselves a massive disservice, in my opinion. Which is the reason why, I think that Joe Biden very well may not win. I can't say that that's the truth for sure. There's still time for things to change in that regard. He very well could He may not. I don't know. I'm not fucking psychic. Even though the data points towards something along those lines as of right now, that may not be the case in the next couple of weeks or months. There are bigger issues on the ground here in terms of how the electoral left is operating in America, and I feel like that could cause huge problems in the future.
Okay, Dylan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think describing it as a horse race when we can point to specific issues and like, oh, it's just people ruining their team. I don't think that's really what's going to happen in the general. Definitely when we go to issue, I mean, like, it's a horse race. It doesn't have the impact. It most definitely has the impact when it comes to, like, 10,000 people dying without healthcare or 35,000 people dying without healthcare. These many people dying from sanctions around the world compared to these many people, or for this or that to this or that, as a horse race. And when we talk about how, oh, well, the Democrats need to, if they don't acknowledge the neoliberal hatred for neoliberal, right? We can look specifically at how they're reacting to Bernie almost taking the nomination. How they're reacting to it. They literally had to get so many people to endorse Biden. They put everything they could against Biden and barely took it on Super Tuesday. They were so close. They're taking note of that. We can see it from how they're moving on policies, how they're engaging with Bernie, how they're engaging when we're talking about the actual officials, how they're trying to like figure out, fuck, if we look at Biden, his support from the Latino community and from young people are not good. Bernie actually is smashing in both of those categories. How are we going to engage with them? Well, we got to make concessions on these policies. Fuck, how are we going to engage on this? They are, whether they're genuine about this or not, they know what's going on when it comes to like the anti-establishment thing, because they had to face it. He was this close to losing by it. They know that the quote unquote the jig is up, and so they are moving in response to that. I do think they understand it to an extent. How they react is going to be important. And I think them having these policy discussions with Biden, making him move, making him for being against private prisons, for example, making him go for a $15 minimum wage.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think that's an incredibly optimistic perspective. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But only time will tell, my pretties. What we're doing now is speculation. Time will tell, and I think with sort of the historical kind of trajectory of neoliberalism, it's not leading us to a good place, and I don't think it could ever lead us to a good place. That's just kind of how I see things.
Sure. So I'm also, or at least I try to pretend to be like a political pundit, and whenever I try to make predictions, I sort of try and base them in some kind of data points. So when you say, for example, Biden isn't gonna pass his policies, well, I would just challenge you to name me a president who got elected and didn't try to pass the policies that he was elected on. So in recent history, we can talk about. Let me just finish real quick.
Let him finish.
Let me just finish real quick. So Trump campaigned on the wall and tax cuts, and he definitely tried to pass both of them.
Yeah, I didn't say
Obama
try.
campaign.
Let him finish.
Well, yeah, but what else?
Let him finish. Let him finish. Let him finish.
No, but
I'm not gonna let you talk. I'm not gonna let you talk. Let him finish.
Okay.
Not gonna let you talk. Nope.
No.
Nope. Nope. There is start.
Everybody stop! You guys are gonna make my brain explode. Okay.
No.
Dario, let's let Dario finish the point, and then Angie, you'll have the floor.
this. No, okay, so so if your point is that he's gonna try his hardest to pass it but isn't gonna get them passed, well then there's just more of a reason to vote for Biden, because if he isn't gonna get them passed because the Republican have the Senate and the House or whatever, then with Trump in office, Trump is going to get past even more of his policies, because Trump isn't just like sitting on his hands and doing nothing. Like under Trump's administration, 7 million people have lost health care. Like Trump isn't just doing things. Like Trump is pushing things in the opposite direction.
You're completely pushing what I'm saying into a direction where it's not supposed to go. I literally said.
I'm just asking you clarifying questions.
I literally said that Joe Biden could have the most squeaky clean, progressive platform. He could go in there and try and pass the so-called legislation that he, the $15 minimum wage, the different things to get more Americans insured. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be successful, and his lack of success isn't going to halt the continuous failures of neoliberalism, which is the root of the problem. It's the root of the issue, that the things that people are asking for, the policies that he's putting forward right now are not enough to sort of act as a safety net to any of the catastrophes that we are about to face globally, in terms of the economy, in terms of the ecological catastrophes. It's not enough.
Sure.
Just
to. Oh,
Wait.
do you want to go?
I got one good point.
Either way,
Oh.
like there's no world where one of them doesn't get elected. Like it's already past that. You can work in doing other stuff now, but it's not like we're ever. It's going to be either Trump or Biden, and one's better. Is it enough? Probably not. But you tell people to vote for him, and then you continue to push things after that. You don't just stop there. But it's still very important to get any other legislation through. You have to have a Democrat at least in the fucking office. Like there's.
So we keep kicking
even
the can down
Marx-
the road, though.
even-
So
no,
we just
even-
keep
wait,
kicking it
wait.
down the road until when,
No.
though?
Well,
Like,
that's
So
what
this,
I'm saying.
so this is
I
the
mean,
thing.
it
Nobody serious ever advocates for accelerationism in electoralism. Like even Marx advocated against this. Like if you want to do direct action and you want to vote down ballot and you want to put pressure on the party to enact policies that you think are favorable, it never makes sense to go for accelerationism within electoral politics.
I'm not advocating accelerationism. That's not what I'm advocating.
Well, that is Trump winning. That is accelerationism. If you're
I'm not advocating Trump winning either. I'm saying I don't think that Joe Biden is going to win. That's not me advocating Trump winning. Why are you putting words in my mouth? We moved past that. Moving back to what we were talking about, I'm saying that Joe Biden's platform is not enough as we have right now. It's not enough to be the quote unquote harm reduction that vote blue no matter who people are always banging on about. And in terms of him being able to pass those policies, I don't think that's what he's going to do. I don't think it's going to be a thing where he's going to go in there and he's going to be able to pass those policies. So why?
Sure.
Actually, I got a good list of ideas that will happen immediately. Okay, here's one thing.
I don't think that that's what's going to happen.
Okay, here's a good one. I can give you one.
I don't think Joe Biden's going to fucking pass.
I can give you the most impactful horrible situation in the world. I can give you the most impactful thing in the world. The worst human rights crisis in the world right now is what's going on in Yemen. 85 children under the age of 5 in 2018. That's just 2018. Died of starvation. That's not including bombings, bullets, any of the other stuff. That's just people under the age of 5. Doesn't include 6, 7, and 8. Then you put in civilian casualties through bombing, the destruction of local infrastructure, which by the way is hundreds of years old. The destruction of history, the erasure of culture, the bombing of historical mosques that are important. One that has said that Muhammad's camel even rested. I mean, this is important shit getting completely destroyed. The Yemeni people being put on a plate to Saudi slaughter. Bipartisan legislation passed by both Democrats and Republicans went through the House and went through the Senate. It was next to impossible, but Bernie Sanders worked hard to do it. Biden has promised to do it. Trump vetoed it. If Biden's in there, that legislation goes through, and we can help to put pressure on the Saudis to end one of the worst human rights catastrophes in the world. World.
When do we start the soft war in Yemen? Under Obama?
We supported under Obama, but Biden pledged. Okay, but Obama also has disagreements with Biden on foreign policy, and Biden has pledged to do this. And do you really think Biden's going to veto that legislation when he pledged to do it, and he wouldn't even need to touch it? He could literally just sit back and let it go through and not even sign his name on it if he disagreed with it.
Why did he pass it under when he was?
He didn't pass it. Obama did it. Obama did it, and Obama did it because the Saudis promised him a 6-month war. He promised the world a 6-month war, and Obama specifically didn't get involved because he didn't really agree with the intervention into whole. And then as the war gone on, Obama get more and more pissed at it, and through the Trump administration, Obama and Biden have been very obvious they got fucking more and more pissed at it. Biden has been hard against this. He's been hard against it. He pledged against it. So you're saying one of the things he could fulfill this campaign promise literally by doing nothing because he just let the bipartisan legislation pass through, and doing this after the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, that'd make no sense.
Okay,
that
so
might be. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just want to say, is he going to be against Saudi Arabia also too? Then are we going to cut ties with Saudi Arabia?
Of course not. And he shouldn't cut ties with Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so then how is he going to by how's he gonna?
Because
take
we
care of
are
Yemen if it
literally
was-
sending them the guns and bombs to do it. And if we stop sending them the bombs to do it, that cripples their ability to bomb, and that heightens the chance that they'll actually go to the negotiating table. Or if they don't, it at least lessens our contribution to the civilian death toll.
How many ground troops do we have in Yemen?
0. We give the bombs.
We're gonna stop that.
Yes, he literally
You're
would have
saying
to.
that
He would
he's
literally
not
have to
gonna
do
veto
nothing.
a bill that was going to be
Yes,
passed in the
he's
House.
pledged to do
Okay,
it.
all right,
He's
all right.
passed. Oh,
Okay.
basically every single Democrat voted for it. Every single Senate Democrat and House Democrat basically voted for this. This is after the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, and he has pledged to do it. All these and he would literally have to do nothing to fulfill this campaign promise. And you're saying he's not gonna do it?
See if he does, doesn't he?
I'm asking.
But then again, we'd also have to wait and see if he actually wins. Which brings me back to my main point of this whole thing, which is that, in my opinion, there's a chance that he may not win. Which is the whole point of my stance, is that there's a huge chance that Joe Biden may not actually win. And I don't think it's smart for the left to hang its hat on that promise.
Sure. Can I ask you?
Wait, let me finish what I'm saying. He may win. That's a possibility, but he may not win. And I don't think it's a smart thing for leftists to hang their hat on the promise of whether he wins or not.
Sure. So you keep throwing around the words like huge or like may or may not or like there's a chance or whatever. Can you give me like a percentage? Like how likely is Biden to win versus Trump winning? Like is it like 50-50? Is it like 60?
Right now, according to the polls that you've talked about, it looks as if Biden is gaining momentum in certain states. But that could change.
Sure, but like
So
what would be like
the
the mechanisms? Can you mention like the mechanisms of how that would change?
There are plenty of mechanisms. For instance, more accusations could come out, which I'm definitely anticipating.
Anticipating?
Yeah, I think that Joe Biden is a fucking debauched pervert that probably has more dirt waiting to come out from underneath his trajectory. So I think a lot more dirt is probably going.
Wait, what do you think about Trump? Do you think Trump is a debauched pervert?
I also think Trump is the fucking debauched pervert as well. But the thing is, he's not running on the kind of squeaky clean social justice platform. The people who vote for Trump don't give a shit about those things.
Okay,
the people who vote for Joe Biden do give a shit about those things, and I think it could impact his momentum if more accusations come out, which I think they inevitably will. Number two, we don't know. Trump hasn't even really started running yet in terms of like his own sort of swings and attacks against Joe Biden. We don't know how that's going.
No, he definitely. We don't
know how that's going to shift the momentum. My point is, yes, things look like they're going down a certain trajectory right now, but there's a possibility that more of the bullshit that the Democrats have tried to obfuscate could come back and bite Joe Biden in the arse and cause him to lose the election, which is my overall point.
Wait.
Sure. So like I'm very sorry, Dylan. Just quickly. Yeah, so I'm very big on data, and like when I try to make predictions, again I try to use data to sort of back up like why I think something is going to happen, right? So what I'm no let me just finish real quick. So when you say for example, you anticipate that there will be more rape allegations coming forward against Biden. Well, I would just say, I mean, what basis do you have for that like prediction that you're making there? And on the other hand, I would just say, well, it seems like there has been a rape accusation against Biden, and so far Biden is only getting better against Trump as time passes since they've started campaigning. And yes, they have started campaigning. There has been multiple campaign ads from both sides and attack ads as well from both sides right now, and they are actively attacking each other. And if you're just saying, well, I anticipate more rape allegations will come against Biden, I'll just say, well, I anticipate that Trump is going to have somebody come out and testify that he is, I don't know, very much pro-abortion or something like the Republicans would hate. I could just like make up random things because I think they will happen. No, yeah, I'm just saying, like, I can just make up whatever I want to
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. I'm not saying that Joe Biden, more rape accusations coming out for Joe Biden is like a given like data point. But I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. I was giving it as an example of something that could happen, that could sway the voters away from him in that regard. There are so many different factors that could arise that could destroy Joe Biden's momentum as it is right now. Which is the overall point I'm trying to make, is that things could change. There are a million different factors at play at any time. Weeks from now, we could be having a completely different conversation. I'm not a fucking, no matter how much data you have, you're not a fucking psychic. You can't anticipate what variables. No one could anticipate in 2016 that Trump was gonna fucking win the election.
No, I mean they could. I mean there was like a 30% chance. There was like a 30% chance he was going to win.
If you asked any pundit on the left in 2016 if they thought that Trump was going to win, specifically in the liberal media, if you asked any pundit in the liberal media during around this time in 2016 if they believed Trump was going to win, they would have told you resoundingly no. My point is there are variables that could arise at any time that could swing Joe Biden's momentum away.
Well, I mean, yes.
I'm not going to hang my hat. I'm not going to hang my hat on the idea that he's going to win based on the information that we have now. I still think that there's a possibility that he could lose, and I don't think that that's completely far fetched. You're trying to make
one quick point.
You're trying to make it seem as if I'm being completely far-fetched by saying that there's a possibility that things could change.
No, I'm not. I've never stated that. I do recognize that changes happen in the world. I'm just asking you, like, how likely are those changes, and like, what data do you have, or is it just like baseless predictions that you're making? Because, again, as a political pundit, I would like to see some kind of. And I'm sorry. Just real quick. Like, I like, you obviously don't know me or whatever. I'm Scuff Dario. I'm not a part of the liberal media, so I don't know like what they said. I'm not here to. No, I'm just saying I'm not there. I'm not here to like defend the liberal media. I'm just referring to the data when I speak, and the data
that you're referring to is that things are looking good for Joe Biden right now.
No. I was talking about 2016. So in 2016, the data said that Trump had about a 30% chance of winning, which doesn't mean that Trump is gonna guaranteed win or that he had no chance. Like a 30% chance is still a pretty good chance.
I'm talking about right now. You're saying that the data right now asserts that you're saying the data right now asserts that Joe Biden is doing well in certain states, like things are looking good for him. Things are looking up for him. And all I'm saying is that could change. There are
but I'm asking you,
I gave an example. I gave an example of speculated variables that could occur that could swing things for Joe Biden. I don't know specifically what could change things. I don't even know if things will change. I'm saying that things could change.
I agree with you.
How does that make me an irresponsible pundit?
I'm trying to agree with you. I want to agree with you. Please let me agree with you. So I agree that things could change. Something come out about Biden and it's literally just footage of him, like, I don't know, burning down an orphanage. It could come out. We never know. But the same thing applied to Trump. Well, let me finish. Come on, let me agree with you. I agree with that, and I would apply the same style to Donald Trump. And a good example of this would be like everybody basically said. A lot of people said, "I think Trump will win if the economy stays good." Then the coronavirus happens, he botches it completely, and now the economy is not looking nearly as good as it's going to, and it's not going to look good probably for the entirety of the rest of this election season. The coronavirus has really fucked up his chances, right? And I think that would be. Let me finish. I think that is a good example, and I agree with you. They do change, and I think currently the thing has shifted hard to Biden. Things could change back, but I think it's shifted hard to Biden, and things going forward with coronavirus, I think most likely the new variables are going to come out is the economy getting worse is almost certain to happen, and for coronavirus, more deaths to happen, more bad responses from Trump. And when we talk about this idea of like, well, more sexual assault allegations might come out against Joe Biden. This is fucked up, but this might be actually true. Joe Biden had like 9 different inappropriate touching allegations come out against him while he was on the campaign trail, and the Democrats are the population that you would think would most care about this, and yet he still won the nomination. And now this has happened, and when you look at data, the majority of Democrats still support him despite this. This might be a case, and then when you put generally against Trump and Biden against each other when it comes to sexual assault on the campaign trail, right? And you have somebody in the voting booth, I don't think someone's going to be like, you know what, I was going to support Joe, but then, you know what, this allegation came out, and so now I got to vote for Trump because I support survivors.
The sexual assault, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this, I use the sexual assault as just any variable, but it doesn't necessarily even have to be something as outlandish as that. It could literally be anything. No one could anticipate the impact that COVID-19 would have. Nobody could anticipate that. There are millions of variables that could occur between now and when when the result is announced that could swing this in any way, which is the reason why I'm saying I'm not necessarily convinced, based on the data that's happening right now, that Joe Biden is going to win. Even if it's looking good for him at the moment, there are still plenty of variables that could swing it the other way. And either way, neither of these candidates are people that I'm particularly excited about. Neither of these candidates are people who I particularly think are suitable people to be in the highest seat of power in the world. Neither of these people are people who I'm particularly motivated to want to rally around or support. And I don't think that makes me a fucking terrible person or somebody who's carrying water for the fucking Trump administration. I think that Joe Biden is an incredibly flawed candidate. And I think that those flaws are going to be even more highlighted as things heat up in this election.
So your original position basically was you didn't think Biden was going to win. But now your position is, I don't know, maybe something could happen that totally changes everything. Can we just admit that that was a totally baseless claim, that you had no reason to believe he wouldn't do that?
I still do not think that he's going to win.
Why?
I don't think that he's going to win.
Based on what?
It's just data. It's just data. Regardless, the data is what it is right now, but it can change.
But how? What are the mechanisms?
With this, but why are you? Why were you confidently stating for most of this that you don't think Biden is going to win? That's ridiculous.
When you make political predictions, do you just go around and say, "Well, things might change. Things might change."
It's how I feel.
How are they going to change? I don't know. It's how you feel.
Regardless.
Tomorrow, Trump might get assassinated. It's just how I feel. Who knows?
No, well, that's the thing about politics, is it's not completely cut and dry. You can make predictions based on data, yes, but you can also make predictions based on the political climate of the country. You can
do you have data to support that the political climate is as you say it is?
You can also base your predictions based on the flawedness of the candidate that's being presented. I think that Joe Biden is a deeply, deeply flawed candidate.
Well, and that's the reason. Disagree with you, so.
Well, yeah, they can, you guys could very well be right. And if that's the case, congratulations to you. But regardless of what's going on right now in terms of him doing well in certain states, I still think that there's a possibility for things to change.
No one disagrees with it.
Not just based on how Trump decides to push back, but also based upon his track record as a candidate, based upon mistakes that he could possibly make as well in terms of his platform, his trajectory. Also based on his past coming out to haunt him as well. There are many different things that could come and derail the potential for this candidate.
Do you have any data to suggest that the political climate is as you say it is in the electoral, like in the people who are voting? Like, do you have any data to suggest that?
Yeah,
because it seems like all the data goes against that.
Based on the data that I presented that was collected about the way people feel about the trustworthiness of the candidates.
Sure, but that has nothing to do with how they vote, right? Like, not necessarily, because Bernie blew all of those out of the park, and people didn't vote for him.
Not all the voting is done. Not all the voting is done. That's
Well-
one specific scenario of that not necessarily matching up and I'm talking specifically based on public opinion, not on polling data in terms of voting. Based on public opinion, Trump is still seen as a more trustworthy candidate on all of these issues.
Well,
That
Bernie
very
was
well-
seen.
that very-
Bernie,
yeah,
and again,
that very
Bernie was
well-
seen as a more trustworthy candidate in all of these
you
issues,
asked
but
me-
he
you
didn't
asked
win
me-
because
you
people
asked me-
don't vote on who they trust with the issues.
You
People.
asked me about the political climate. You didn't
Yes,
ask
and
me-
I'm.
No, you asked me about the political climate. You asked me what data do I have to back up what I say about the political climate is true. I presented the data that the political climate, the way people feel about these candidates and the issues
Okay,
as
so
well.
yeah, sure. That was my bad.
Wait, let me finish. Including on the topics that they sided with Bernie on, shows
Sure.
you that the political climate is not in alignment with what Joe Biden represents.
Sure. So that was my mistake. That was my mistake. So what I meant to ask you was, can you present me data which suggests that the political climate is as you say it is, and that it will affect the election in the way that you claim it will? Like
I
saying.
can't make predictions. I can't make predictions about how
Well-
it's going to affect. But let me finish. I can't make predictions.
Well, I mean,
about how, let me
I
finish
can.
a fucking
Okay.
sentence. I can't make predictions about how it's going to affect the election as it stands at the moment. But I can factor that into what I feel is going to be the outcome. You say that people trusted Bernie more on the issues, yet they didn't vote for him. We could get the data from like 10 different elections that have happened throughout US history. Look at how certain candidates polled in terms of certain issues and what the outcome was in terms of how people voted. I don't think it's good enough. For
Sure.
you to say that because
Sure.
Bernie didn't win.
So let me just give you one data point.
The political climate in terms of the way people feel about the issues
Sure.
still is as it stands. And I'm not
Sure.
saying
So let me just give you one data point.
Let me finish so I can clarify. I'm not saying that will definitely impact the election in this like monumental way, but I'm saying it could definitely play a role, especially in the coming weeks and months as different things start to emerge. As the election heats up and as things start to emerge, there very well may be a correlation between the political climate and the way that people decide they're going to cast their ballot.
Okay,
Me
so
saying that I think that there's a possibility
God.
Joe Biden will
Wait.
lose.
Jesus fucking.
Yeah, I think let's let Dario.
So just one quick point. So one data point. I think for wait, who left?
Kalia just left. They were saying that they had a headache. I was gonna tell them to shut
okay.
themselves out, but they didn't. Okay, yeah, continue, Dario.
Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to bring forth one data point. So I guess for most of the people who were following Bernie very closely, it was a very common talking point that the vast majority of people agreed with Bernie on the vast majority of his policies. Like even something like the Green New Deal in some states had like a 90% approval rating, which was fucking insane. But as a matter of fact, I think it was the case in like the early states that voted, around 70% of people voted primarily about who would beat Trump and not about what the policies were or like who they thought was going to be better on all of these issues that Bernie was going to be better on anyway. So it doesn't really matter what they think is going to be like the best issues or like at the end of the day what the policies are about. It matters for at least the Democratic electorate who is going to beat Trump.
The case. Many people did vote in terms of seeing Joe Biden as the candidate that would beat Trump, regardless of whether they agreed with Joe Biden on policy and whether they favored Bernie Sanders' policies more or whatever. But in terms of the political climate, in terms of the way that the American the electorate swung towards Trump in 2016 based on that political climate, what makes you think that that's going to be any different now? Most of the things that
because we saw Trump, right? He's an unknown.
Most of the things that can I finish my point? Most of the things that we're talking about here in terms of what got Trump elected in the first place are these aspects of the political climate that people are dissatisfied with. And that doesn't exclude the Democratic voter base. The Democratic voter base also the Democratic voter base also echo those same sentiments, which is the reason why they were more aligned with Bernie Sanders on certain issues than they were with Joe Biden. But Joe Biden being the panic candidate, the person who they think is going to beat Trump, and are putting all of their chips in his basket as the candidate that's going to be against Trump, doesn't negate those things in the atmosphere. And what makes you think Trump isn't going to be able to play on those things in order to secure himself a second term? The fact that people
one
trust
example
him.
of like the current atmosphere, a great example to look at is the 2018 midterms, where basically the whole like blue wave stuff, that was mostly moderate Democrats that got like tremendous amount of support, and like most of the more progressive ones just didn't. I'm so like I wish the country was more progressive, but I don't actually think the country is like as like secretly progressive or like secretly hates the status quo as you think it is, considering how many people that came out to vote for very, very like centrist Democrats that fucking destroyed
Status
or brought
quo.
us back.
Hating the status quo does not mean progressive. It can very well mean far right. So
No, but they
I
voted
don't
for
think
moderate Democrats. That was
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
They voted
but that
for
doesn't-
moderate
but that doesn't-
Democrats.
That doesn't mean, because they voted for moderate Democrats, that doesn't negate the fact that the country in itself has the political climate isn't that of being for the Democrats. It's not that of being for the Democratic establishment. People are tired of the Democratic establishment.
It kind of wasn't.
Well, sure. Yeah, so Angie, so what just happened here was Pseudosia brought forth a data point which suggested that the blue wave in 2018 was mostly moderate Democrats that people voted for, which were quote unquote the establishment or whatever you want to call it. So that was like a data point to support her position. Do you have a data point which would support your position?
Oh, wait, hang on. So you're saying that the blue wave, in terms of people voting for moderate Democrats, is proof that people don't trust Trump more on certain policy issues? I'm confused.
No, nobody's talking about that.
So atmosphere.
Like what I'm talking about is when you look at the data, when you look at the data that's been collected from polls about the candidate that people trust most, Trump is winning in terms of like foreign policy, in terms of
doesn't seem to matter security. In terms of voting though. Like the voting doesn't seem to
but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is what his original question was is, what do I have to prove that the political climate is the way that I said it is? And I'm saying that the polls that have been done in terms of who the public trusts more in terms of national security, in terms of all of these different issues, Trump is polling higher than Joe Biden.
Hey, I see you just rated me, Kayla Whithart. I appreciate it. I know we disagree on this, but that's totally cool. I get heated, but that's because I am passionate. Love you. Love you, girl. Okay?
Fucking like got destroyed. I'm sorry. I wish they didn't, but like.
But it was
because
the
political climate is pretty fucking moderate. I don't know.
No, the political climate. The reason in my opinion, the reason that people voted for those centrist candidates in the first place is the same reason why the Democrats put Joe Biden forward, is because they're afraid of Trump. They think that progressive. They
just
think
quickly,
that progressive candidates.
Angie, can you link the data that you're talking about just so I can look at it real quick?
Sure, I can. Hang on.
Wait, wouldn't the same thing happen against with Biden? Wouldn't he win because of that too? By your logic?
But that's what I'm saying is the reason why they put those candidates forward in the first place, and the reason why they put Joe Biden forward as a candidate, is because they're afraid of Trump, and because and we're talking specifically about the Democratic voting constituency. They're afraid of Trump, and they think that progressive candidates aren't going to be the thing that beats Trump, basically, and they want to put forward these established candidates as an answer towards Trump. My point is, taking into account the political climate, how do we know that they're right? How do we know that they're correct, that these candidates that they're putting forward are what's going to be the answer to Trump?
It worked in 2018.
Well, that's the thing.
I mean,
I don't really know. Like I said, I'm not American, so I don't really know much about the blue wave or the what's it called, the voting record of like the blue wave or whatever. But like,
I would like to know what the Reckoning thinks about it. Since
hang on, I'm just pulling up the data.
Yeah, can you just link it in like any chat?
Sure.
Yeah,
No
I
problem.
would like to see that too, to be honest. But so Daria, you wanted a point earlier about what was your question? You wanted a data point that said what makes Angie believe that
Here it is. Found it.
Trump's more electable than Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Is that
Sure.
So the fact that 30 to 40% or whatever the number is exactly of the United States identifies as independent, for one, and two, that the people who really really were behind Bernie and didn't come out to vote, that could be your second data point, that percentage. And technically Biden needs those people, correct, to win the election?
Yeah, Biden is winning with independents right now. So what's your point?
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he is.
I mean, do you have data to suggest
Do
otherwise?
you have data that shows that? Because
I believe so.
haven't seen that.
Dario, be
Sure.
the data machine. Go pull it out of your
The
mouth.
data that you asked
Find
for.
that.
Scroll it out.
I just put the data that you asked for in
Yeah.
the it's from Politico, and it's polls that were taken on basically, hang on, where is it? There we go. So it's basically
I'm
on
just-
trust more to handle in terms of like different issues, whether that be the economy, jobs, national security, immigration, and gun policy. You know, and Trump is polling much higher in terms of those issues than Biden is at the moment. And my point is that could have an impact on the way that people on the way that people vote in the coming months.
Sure.
So
So usually when we look at like electoral data, the way that we do it is that we go by like aggregate polling or like how polling changes over time. So like taking one single poll and basing your entire argument off that isn't really.
I'm not basing my entire argument off of one poll. My point is.
Okay. Do you have other polls which indicate the same trend?
There are other polls too. Do you want me to link you?
I spent 15 minutes looking for like other.
I can link you a bunch of polls if you would like me to.
That show the same trend that people trust
Yes.
I know
Biden more.
exactly the polls she's talking about, and I've read the data on this one.
I can
A
link
bunch
you
of polls.
I can link you a bunch of different collections of data in terms of polls that have been taken on specific issues like the economy, jobs, national security, immigration, gun policy, drug policy.
I would be really curious about that.
I will.
Like if you have like an aggregate.
And
I've seen it.
I just have.
On the same document you just sent. Like
yes.
Biden also polls that people trust him better with healthcare, the environment, energy, education. That's all I've scrolled through so far.
In terms of the things that shift people to vote, the economy, jobs, and national security. Yeah, the economy.
Well, healthcare is the number one issue.
Oh,
but then again, the economy, job security, and national security.
Wait, I gotta say this.
The economy, job security, and national security are three massive issues.
Okay.
Sure, but healthcare. Sure, but like healthcare is the number one issue, and environment is like number 3, right? Something like that.
Healthcare is definitely a big issue. But in terms of historically what has swung Americans to vote, it's always been the economy, jobs, and national security. These are three major issues in terms of what people, and these three major issues, Trump is polling higher than Joe Biden, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think it's a terrible thing that the supposed left wing of the American political system is polling worse on these issues than the far right candidate. I think that that's the issue that's worth talking about. Why is it that the Democratic establishment has failed so badly that the far right candidate is polling higher in this regard? I still think that it's touch and go. Most people who you ask aren't saying that Joe Biden is going to win definitely, even though he may be polling well in certain aspects at the moment in terms of certain states and the momentum he's been able to gain in certain states. Nobody's taking that away from him. But if you ask most people aren't going to say, yes, Joe Biden is definitely going to win. There's still a chance that may not happen. And I'm saying that these specific issues may be the thing that acts as a stumbling block in the coming weeks and months, which is the reason why I think that there's a possibility he won't win. And if you're going to ask me, not based on anything but intuitively, too, I don't think he's going to win. Intuitively, I think he's going to lose.
Okay, so I do want to say that if I wish national security was nearly as important to voters as you say it was, my
It
job would be
is.
up. No,
America-
okay, no. The specific data you're talking about is when we're at war. Oh, that's the biggest thing in war. Like George Bush could have won every election in a row if it was just constant invasion
And now,
of Iraq.
considering
But
coronavirus is going on, considering the COVID-19 catastrophe
I would love to
basically
finish.
destabilized.
I would love the privilege of speaking. I would love the Pixie, please.
Okay,
I beg of
yeah,
you.
Dylan,
Let me
I'm so
simp.
sorry.
Let me
Okay,
simp.
Okay, Dylan, finish.
So when it comes to national security, I will say coronavirus is a good example, but generally, coronavirus has hurt Donald Trump's approval rating. When it comes to Donald Trump's polling against Biden, it's actually gotten worse for him in polling. So then I would have to look at other examples of where he'd be seen as national security. And he doesn't really look good in it. And national security, when it is polled and what is important, is mostly during times of war. And Trump, even though he tried a little bit with the Soleimani and Bolton was pretty strong in the Iran stuff, hasn't gotten into one yet. So when it comes to national security, I really wish. And when it comes to this data, I know the polls you're talking about, and I've looked at the data for it, and I even think I know the exact poll you're talking about. Who won in the general election for that poll? It was Biden. Biden won that poll. In that poll you're talking about, Biden won.
No.
Yes, he did.
Even that. Wait, where? How?
He won. If you look at any of these polls, which
I'm
go
looking-
issue to
I'm
issue,
looking at-
and you look
I'm
at
looking
general
at the poll.
election, it always says Biden won. If you can find me
I'm
one that
looking-
it's like that and says the other way, I will give you $100. I'll PayPal you it
looking
right
at-
now.
I'm looking at the poll right now to look and see where it says about whether it says a thing about general election.
Here's a good one.
hang on a
KOS
second.
came out with a poll today
Hang on a
that
second,
actually.
hang on a second.
Well, let me.
Hang on a second.
I'm saying
because I'm talking about this specific poll.
Okay, but
and
KOS would help you
made
more.
it-
The KOS poll would help you more because the KOS poll says that Biden lost on every single issue by like 10
Well,
points
no.
on each one.
I'm not looking. I'm talking about the specific poll that I'm citing.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm
Let's
looking
look
to
at it.
see-
Let me look at general
I'm looking
election.
to see
I'll look
if
for you.
general
Don't worry.
election- No, I'm looking too, so don't worry.
Just a quick point. So usually the way that you do data science and like
Hang
make
on a
predictions
second.
and stuff, you never want to
Yes,
take
it
just
is.
one
Let me
point
see.
like out of like a group of like polls. You generally want to go for like an aggregate to get the best result.
Yeah,
and
I'm
like
Okay, you know
I'm
what? I
not
can look it
I'm
up
not
directly. I
saying-
can just go to Morning Consultant.
I'm not saying that this one poll is indicative of like the entirety of what could have unfolded in the election either. There are multiple polls. I'm talking about specific issues, specific election turning issues like the economy and jobs and national security, for instance, and how Trump is scoring higher, not just on this poll, but on multiple polls than Joe Biden is.
Okay, I'm looking at the company, Joe Biden versus Trump. I promise you $100 and I'll give it to you if I'm wrong. Oh, there it is.
I
Morning
didn't
Consultant.
need your
Biden
info.
leads swells to a 2020 high, and that's from March 10th. That's actually before coronavirus shit got even worse. And that's by 7 points. That's from Morning Consultant, the exact polling company you're talking about.
Win. You said that it would say win. It doesn't say win.
March 10th. That
Yeah,
was
but it
before
doesn't say-
coronavirus got even worse.
Yeah, but it doesn't say win.
By 7 What do you mean
doesn't say
win?
win.
Win what?
You
March
lit-
10th.
You literally
March
just said
10th.
you literally just said that it would say general election Joe Biden, and that's not what it says.
Here it is. I can send it to you directly. Here it is. I'll put
What
it
are
in
you
there.
saying?
I'm sending it to
saying-
I'm saying that Morning Consultant, this polling company, has Joe
Yeah.
Biden smashing it. And you know what? I will go through every data line right now and find it. I will find it. I will go through the tireless effort of doing that because I love all you viewers, and that's why you should all Twitch Prime sub.
Okay, Liz and The Reckoning haven't said anything in a while. Is there anything you guys want to add?
It just
Go ahead,
seems like, in terms of actually what actually happens in voting, even if there's a slight advantage in some of these areas, in terms of like who do you trust more, it seems like predominantly Joe Biden statistically is crushing it in terms of actually voting, which is what actually matters.
Reckoning, you want to say something?
I mean, that's all good and well that the polls are showing that Biden's up ahead, like Hillary was in 2016 over Trump, but nobody addressed. You didn't address the electoral college issue, dog. Like
Well,
Dario, I know you're like
If electoral
painting over there,
college is really important, wouldn't that, if it gets to the point where it's like electoral college matters, wouldn't that mean like telling people to vote for Biden would be even more important. Like,
I
be
think
so
my
close?
point is that Trump played the states game better, the electoral college states, and he just outmathed
Occurred is
Hillary Clinton in
occurred.
2016, which could happen again in 2020.
Yeah, because he won the
I'm just-
specific states that he needed to win, right?
Okay,
And that's that's what we're talking about. Like when I talk about battleground states, and like when I do you have any data to back up that Biden is going to lose the electoral college? I mean,
I'm asking you, how do you address those issues? How does Biden address those issues? I'm
by
not trying
winning
to
the key
provide evidence.
states.
I'm not making a claim. Okay, by winning key states, what the Rust Belt states? I'm assuming you're talking about
Sure.
Florida, Texas,
Well,
as
yeah.
well.
Sure, yeah. Like I literally went over the data like 2 hours ago. I don't know why you think I didn't address this. Like, that was the first point that I addressed. Like, do you want us to go through it
You gave
again?
me the percentages. No, you gave me the percentages of
Yes.
where it stands right now.
Occurred is occurred.
But that
Yes.
doesn't tell me anything about the electoral college, about the actual
What?
specifically about certain.
Can you rephrase your question? Maybe I just don't understand.
Okay. I got nothing. Okay. I'm like fucking halfway lost, but also
Okay, let me clarify. So the reckoning, you're saying that like when
I
it comes to
self-voted
like
myself.
yeah. Are you saying like when it comes to like specific districts that might be key for like the electoral college or whatever, you would want to see like more data on that?
Yeah, so last time I checked, you need how many electoral votes do you need to win it? Was it 270? Yeah, 270. So as I said, if you look at the electoral votes from like the key states and such, and if you sort of do the calculus in terms of like the electoral college, like people who are doing it, it seems to be by a very big margin going in favor of Biden right now, especially if you consider big states like Florida, where Biden is currently winning against Trump, that Trump won in 2016. Like when you consider states like Pennsylvania, where Biden is even like above margin of error winning. Like I don't understand where you would have this notion that Biden is going to lose the electoral college. I don't think there's any data that backs this up. Like Biden is crushing it right now in the battleground states.
For the same reason that in 2016 Hillary Clinton was crushing Trump
Again.
and they were by Piper strategy, and it was like, oh yeah, she's totally going to take this thing.
Well,
and then
again,
within the margin of error, Trump pulled it out in the end.
Sure,
That's
sure,
what I'm
and
saying.
yeah,
I'm
and
asking you to
again,
address those
sure,
issues.
sure, again, when I am making predictions and when I'm making claims, I will always base it in the data that is available, which is the best data available currently. Can things change? Sure. Tomorrow, Biden might go to jail and he will lose all the battleground states because he's in jail. You kind of have to, you can't just say things might change. How will you address the change? I'm not a fortune teller. I can't predict the future. If you think there's going to be a change, you have to sort of describe how the avenue of the change is going to come to be. You can't just say...
True. Saying could change is just leaving room for possibility. That's not saying I specifically know how things are going to change. That would make me a fucking fortune teller, and I'm not that. I don't know how things are going to change. Nobody knows if things could very well not change in that regard. But saying things could change doesn't mean that you then have to. It's a state. Saying things could change isn't a statement that you have to back up with miles and miles of data. It's a possibility that anything could change at any time.
Yes, anything can happen.
Yeah, you kind of do. But
I think my assertion that Donald Trump is going to lose is based in the political climate.
That's what you think?
Sorry, not Donald Trump is going to lose. Sorry, that Donald Trump. My prediction that Joe Biden is going to lose isn't based in what's going on right now. Right now, it looks as if things may very well go well for him in that regard. My prediction that Joe Biden is going to lose is based in the way that he's polling against Trump on certain issues, and the fact that Trump is doing well on those issues.
Based on one poll.
The economy, not based on one poll, based on multiple polls.
But these polls still have Biden winning.
Yeah, like all of these polls that you're citing have
I can give
Biden
you
winning from the voters.
The KOS
These
poll
polls-
is the poll that is the worst one for Biden, which literally
These
has him
polls-
losing on
these
every,
polls-
which literally has him losing on every single issue by over 10 points, and even on that one where his favorability rate is almost like half of Trump's, and he still beats him by 3 points in the KOS poll.
These polls may very well still have Biden winning based on certain trends, but it doesn't mean that these places where Joe Biden is polling lower than Trump still can't have an impact in the coming weeks, months.
What the
And I
data
think
suggests.
My problem, if you'd let me fucking finish a sentence,
I never will.
My problem is that these key areas where Joe Biden is doing worse than Trump could very well crop up in the next coming weeks and months and cause a shift in the climate. That's my point.
Okay, assuming all this.
Okay,
I'm
gonna
even more
cut in
important. If Trump's
after
gonna,
Liz.
sorry, can I? Yeah.
Go for it.
If Trump's going to, let's bring this back to burning your bus. If Trump's gonna, let's say that everything's gonna change, and then Biden is gonna be, it's basically like Hillary Clinton 2.0. It's gonna be super close, or like he's gonna lose. Doesn't this make it even more important than ever to like advocate for people to actually go out and vote for Joe Biden so we don't get fucking Trump? Like.
Yeah, I'm gonna like cut in and say like I feel like we're going in circles. I feel like Angie is coming from a perspective of like, okay, like a historical analysis, like looking at like just past trends like 2016 and maybe even like beforehand, depending on like what period of history you look at. And then Dario's coming from a perspective more of like, okay, like more like recent data and like more like recent like polling averages and things like that. I think like if there's any like topic that we should like kind of discuss in general is how there really does seem to be a divide in the left. I don't know about you guys, and like how do we actually overcome that? Or like, you know, do you even think we should overcome it? Because as things stand like right now, everything seems like very tense and divided, and it seems like people don't want to advocate for Biden, or it seems like, you know, Biden, like people still don't believe like Biden's the best candidate or things like that. So do you think we should try to overcome that hurdle? Yes or no? Why or why not? That's what the
I think this divide on the left is an imaginary divide. I think all serious people, all big figures on the left, like people like Bernie Sanders himself, people like Sam Cedar, people like Noam Chomsky, all of these people are all saying the same thing. Go vote for Biden, but then also do direct action to make sure that next time around you have better choices. This is how electoralism works. When the presidential election comes around, you sort of vote for the person with the best policies, and you see the fruits of your labor. You see how much of the progressive movement you had drummed up this time around. And I think to say that the progressive movement isn't rising or isn't gaining weight is to dismiss all of the work that Bernie Sanders has done. Because I think this time around, I think Bernie Sanders won. Bernie Sanders did very much what he sought out to do. He created a ground movement. He mobilized the millions of people, and he made sure that the progressives had more of a voice than they ever had, and they made sure that every single politician on that Democratic stage was presenting progressive policies, which would be progressive by any standard. Fucking Michael Bloomberg was advocating for a $15 minimum wage. Michael fucking Bloomberg. This is what the progressive movement has done. And if you think that it's going to get better under a Trump presidency, there's just no way. The only way forward for the left is go out and vote for the person who you think has the better policies this time around, and next time around, keep growing the progressive movement and get an even more progressive candidate next time around.
I think that it's kind of an insult to the historical tradition of the left to say that the best hope for the left is like to vote for Joe Biden, and also I don't think that
well, against Trump,
I don't think
do other stuff.
I don't think.
Did you miss the part where I said direct action?
I didn't miss that part, but I don't think that our hopes hinge upon a Joe Biden presidency either.
No, that's why I said direct action.
Direct action is also a big part of it, but I also
voting down ballot as well.
I also don't think that a Joe Biden presidency is necessarily what the hopes of the left hinge upon. Secondly, I also don't think that anyone here is advocating for a Trump presidency. I think we're saying that Joe
Exactly.
Biden is a deeply, please be quiet. I think Joe Biden is saying that, I think people are saying that Joe Biden is a deeply flawed candidate, somebody who does not represent the values that we are putting forward, whether that be in terms of his personal affairs or his political platform. In terms of the divide on the left, I think that the divide isn't imaginary. I think the divide stems from those on the left who are dissatisfied with the neoliberal status quo, those on the left who are more wanting to put their energies in towards challenging and dismantling the neoliberal status quo, whether that be culturally or politically, and those who want to uphold it. One of the things that sort of one of the things that sort of was weird for me around the Bernie Sanders campaign was when he started to say things like "my friend Joe this, my friend Joe that." The truth of the matter is, these people are our political enemies and our class enemies. They have a class incentive to obfuscate anything.
Just to
that was
clarify, is
presented.
Bernie? Are you
Let
talking
me
about Bernie
finish.
now?
Let me finish what I'm saying.
No, I just want to clarify.
Can I fucking finish? Can I finish? You talked. You said.
Yeah, come
you
on,
said
Dario.
your piece.
No, I'm
the
just
fuck?
asking.
We're getting-
Wow,
Like, I don't know
Dario.
what you're
getting to
saying.
the
Like,
end.
if I'm
We're getting
to
to the-
respond, if you're having a dialogue, I want to know what you're saying.
I'm gonna leave this call if I'm not gonna be able to fucking finish a point without you jumping
What
over
a
me.
tragedy that
please
would be.
stop.
To be
Please
fair, you
stop.
have been talking literally half the
Please-
time,
please
though. I'm
stop.
not
Rude.
mad at it, but
Okay,
I'm just
okay.
saying.
Should I stop now? Like, is that what, or are we supposed to be putting
I
forward?
just want to
Are we
know
supposed
who
to
you
be
were
Okay,
talking
okay,
about.
okay.
My point
just-
is, my point is, the side of the left that is dissatisfied with the neoliberal status quo and the side that doesn't want to uphold it is the side that is the most shouted down and the most sort of marginalized in terms of dealing with this issue of electoral politics. I don't think it's fair to say that people who are not energized behind the Biden candidacy are not serious in terms of their political positions. I think that that's a very sort of silly statement to make.
Okay.
I think I think in terms of healing the divide on the left, I don't think that there is a healing the divide on the left, really. I think that there are people with different political goals that are going to be doing different things and who have different ways of operating. If somebody wants to go and vote and campaign for Joe Biden, I hold absolutely no ill will towards them. That's their prerogative. That's specifically what they want to do. But then those same people will shame, bully, and spread lies and smears, including calling people fascists, calling people, accusing people of carrying water for the Trump administration, for being critical of Biden, his platform, the Democrats and their platform, and the neoliberal establishment. And then I also want to give an example before I close out for the evening. Here in the UK, there was a recent report that was leaked from the Labour Party that showed.
I mean, you literally said you were gonna come when Trump wins. Like, are we actually having this conversation?
Can you shut the fuck up?
Holy
Can you shut the fuck up for a second? It would be really, really nice
Damn,
if you shut the fuck
Dario.
up for a second. The fact of the matter is, in the UK, we just had our general election in December, and there was a recent report that came out to show the degree of obfuscation that was done by the Labour Party to ensure that the Tories won. The Labour Party was so afraid to see a populist left candidate running at its helm that they engaged in serious inter-party subversion to ensure that Corbyn's candidacy would fail. The leaks are there. You can go and read them online. There were trumped up reports about anti-Semitism. The Labour Party also blocked investigation into the anti-Semitism charges. They also delayed momentum. They did all kinds of really shady things in order to ensure that a populist left candidate wouldn't be at the forefront of the party. So the idea that these neoliberals are our friends, or that they're even friendly towards the idea of a populist left movement, is incredibly misguided, in my opinion. And I don't see these people as my friends. I see them as my enemies.
Okay.
Okay.
Liz, I mean, we're doing closing statements generally anyway, so Liz and Dylan and Reckoning, and then I'll let everybody shout themselves out.
Okay, unless you're going to accuse like Bernie Sanders of being like a neoliberal show or something, I feel like every serious person that wants to like change the world and actually like enact policy realizes that and like change the status quo, realizes you should probably vote for Biden and then do other stuff. Like there's not gonna like we're not gonna get fuck all done in Trump presidency. There's at least a chance that we get stuff done and then continue working afterwards. No, I think this divide exists, but I think any serious person, it's not like a divide between neoliberal shills and actual leftists. It's a divide between people that know what they're talking about and idiots on Twitter. And generally, I think if this is closing statements, I think Angie, you've been blown the fuck out in this conversation. I'm sorry. This is actually fucking pathetic. And yeah.
Okay, Dylan.
Okay. When it comes to insulting the left, the history of the leftist cause or something, maybe to an extent we need to do that, because if there's one thing I know, if when it comes to history of the left, is it has a history of also losing, and losing a lot. I mean, really, we lose like a lot, guys. I mean, when it comes to like the state of losing or not losing, we're in the losers camp like 99% of the time, man. We're like, I don't play sports, but we're like a journeyman in boxing, man. We're getting knocked out constantly. I mean, it's bad. And you want to know what? I think we should change that tradition. And I think some of it has to do with the fact that we need to be able to play electoral politics. We need to be able to play games a little bit. And at the end of the day, I want to unite. I will. It's closing statements. It's closing statements.
It's closing statements.
It's not response time. When it comes to this,
exactly why I'm
I
gonna
don't
come
care.
when
I'm just gonna. I just muted her. I don't know if she's talking or not, but I'm gonna talk.
Bye.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Bye, Angie.
It was nice talking to you, Angie.
Okay, so when
It
it comes to this, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, I will unite with the people who want to take the losing strategy. I will unite with the losers who don't want to take the winning strategy. I'm fine with that. They just got to unite under the winning strategy. We got to work hard to make sure they do. Okay? I'll unite with the losers. It's all good.
Okay. The Reckoning.
So I just think there's a real issue. That sucks. I'd like to have Dylan, Liz, and maybe Dario. Maybe we have an actual conversation about like policy of Biden. I'd like to do that actually.
I'd love to.
We were talking about a lot of shit that was to me sort of. I lost my point half the time, but basically, I think there's a lot of people who identified as independent, who are ex-Bernie voters, who, like you said before, that a lot of people who really like Bernie Sanders couldn't even get out to vote for Bernie Sanders. So there's a section of the population that, like myself, aren't fully convinced. They don't like Trump, but they aren't fully convinced of Biden yet. Every day it seems like something new is coming against them. I do agree with Dylan. I think that the left is a losing 99% of the time. We do lose. And is it on purpose? I don't know. That could be something that could maybe be a thing, but I just don't think that like as it stands right now, Biden is not convincing me. I don't think he's convincing a certain percentage of the population, including especially ex-Bernie voters. And you can also vote third party. It's not just we don't have a two-party system. We have more than two people. So I get the harm reduction argument. That's fine. But yeah, so let's have a combo some other time, guys. I appreciate Pixie.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice talking to you guys.
Let's start shouting out. Dario, you go first.
Wait, can I do closing statements first?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to take a second to actually virtue signal here and say that I don't know who Angie was speaking about, but I'm a socialist. I vote for like the Communist Party here in Denmark, and I actually do direct action. I funded my own co-op like 3 years ago. I don't know who these imaginary lefties that she was talking about were. I am very well aware that Biden isn't gonna bring upon like communism in the United States of America. But I also just think that, hey, maybe like vote for the candidate who's going to bring healthcare to 25 million people, or like raise the minimum wage to $15, or like is going to try and abolish private prisons, is going to make college free so we can educate the populace more. I think that might be just a nice thing you can do for like the American people while you're trying to bring upon the revolution. That's just like my personal opinion. Like, and even if you personally don't stand to gain, even if you're like in a country like Angie is, for example, in the UK or whatever, and you don't stand to gain from like the healthcare that the American people would get, or like the free college, let me just quote Bernie Sanders and say, sometimes you just got to fight for somebody you don't know. It is what it is.
Okay. Do you want to shout out yourself out, your channel?
Oh yeah, sure. If you liked what I had to say, twitch.tv/ScuffDario. Debate is my primary content. I talk to a lot of people from all sides of the aisle. Just the other day, we talked with a Muslim about Sharia law on stream. We don't only talk about politics, we talk about religion, we talk about all kinds of things. So yeah.
All right, Liz.
I am Liz or Sedosha or Sedosia. My Twitch is like it's spelled like pseudo CA, but it's no relation. Twitch is Sedosia_. Twitter is just Sedosia. Yeah, this is probably the first like actually big public debate thing I've had, so I think it's gone pretty good. If you liked what I had to say or anything, feel free to check me out.
All right, Dylan.
Hey, I'm Dylan Burns. I'm the top QAnon streamer on Twitch. I do mostly QAnon content. I've decided to come on here and not do that. Next week, we're going to be going deep into the Clintons in Haiti and all the horrible things the Clinton did. Going to go through the entire thing. I'm going to be doing part 27 of my content on chemical strikes in Syria and how it's all made up and Bashar al-Assad did nothing wrong. But for real, I'm Dylan Burns. I do mostly foreign policy content. If you like my snide remarks and tacit better than you side eye that I gave the entire debate, then come to me at really come to me, my children, at Dylan Burns TV on Twitch and Dylan Burns 7076 on Twitter and Dylan Burns TV on YouTube. I'd really appreciate the support and your money. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. I want you for your money. Give me your money.
Dylan will eat your leftist ass.
Oh, also one last thing. All the accusations about me smuggling weapons is completely untrue. I've only been accused by 3 governments, only 3, and there's like 180 governments in the world. So completely
Very
fucked.
little.
Very little. Very little.
The Reckoning.
Hey, what's up, guys? You could follow me at REKONING. On Twitch, I do lefty politics as well, and I do art stuff. I'm a member of the Chicago DSA, and pretty far left. And we're gonna do like we've been doing propaganda research and how to effectively counter digital propaganda, essentially. So I try to mix a little bit of art with my politics, and that's pretty much it. Come check it out. And again, appreciate it, Pixie. It was good talking to you guys.
That sounds really cool.
I'm really sorry for interrupting you guys so much. I hope you guys all have that was funny, whatever. I thought it was funny.
I personally think we didn't let Angie speak enough. We should have let Angie speak more.
Yeah. Well, now at least we know why we call her Angie Speaks, eh?
Not true.
And not Angie Listens.
But I hope you guys all have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you so much for being here. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Sayonara. Peace be upon you.
Oh.
Oh, do we just leave? Oh, well, I guess we do. By the way, Reckoning, I'm going to have a real discussion about you at some point. DM me on Discord. See you later. Oh, boy, that was a discussion and a half. Wasn't it, my guys? Wasn't that a discussion of ideas and content that we just bestowed upon the populace of the world? Holy moly cannoli.